including itching, muscle spasms, and rattling. We still have one more hour of your time.
Superintendent, concerns about Nebraska's aquaculture industry as President Trump threatens massive tariffs. Remember, you can get breaking news updates by following the KBTV YouTube channel. We'll find all the local top story and much more. Ideal pure water, Omaha's best local water delivery.
It's the most honest commercial you've ever seen. Not the cleanest, just the most honest. Today, we're fixing a home's foundation. I mean, that is like the most common thing to see in the world. Yeah, right. So it's the soil that's eroding away, causing those hatches, those voids that the foundation then wants to settle it. And then you guys with superhero tapes show up and fix everything. It's a free and honest inspection with Groundworks. Foundation solutions crafted with pride.
It all starts with a spark. You know the feeling? The feeling of things finally click. The light bulb. Everything suddenly feels right. Feels like start to find your new passion.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is that 62?
Announced that we are near capacity and people may be asked.
12% interest financing options to fit your budget. Shelter insurance, this is Charles. Joshua.
For insurance cover Shiniers cars.
Yeah. Also, yes.
Monster trucks.
You know we offer car insurance, son. What's going on? Shiny red cars to purple minivans. You can count on Shelter's local agents and importantly customer service to help you protect what matters most. Here's tonight's primetime lineup on KPTV Channel 7, sponsored by Totally Vain. The veins are totally new. It's a cold hard fact. Winters here can't make up its mind. So we're keeping you one step ahead with the forecast you trust. Weather Meter is your winter weather expert, alerting you to changing conditions to keep you safe with a difference-making detail. There's going to be sleet and granite, ice and house of loves. And all next in between us, be prepared from morning to night. The sleep gets a bright.
And for your safety and everybody else's safety, we're not going to be able to allow more than 3 more people to enter. I want to try to make sure we have our exits are right down the hallway, which we're going to leave at least mostly open. To the left of the kitchen. If you have to, for some reason, exit through the apparatus room, just be a bit aware the floor is slippery when wet, and we have plenty of leaking pipes and trucks. So don't slip and fall. Also, of course, here. I know there's online resources to watch this and present. So I don't think this is gonna be a problem because we're right there.
What's the head count so far?
Well, I have 64, but I've been kind of lenient. 67 is our maximum capacity for the room. And that's not including the front table. Did not include it. So, and that's partly because of standing and sitting positions. So, but we've never allowed anything over 67, and we're probably quite a bit over that already. So, just be aware. It's just for your guys' safety as well as anybody else. So.
That's our battalion chief, Matt Jones.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Like this.
I'm gonna try really hard not to. It's 5:30. Are we ready? Call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Red Oak City Council, Monday, February 3rd, 5:30 here at the Red Oak Fire Station. This meeting is being recorded and it is obviously open to the public. We are at capacity and we did hear from our battalion chief where we are on our exits if there were an emergency. So thank you, Matt Jones. Just a reminder that this is a business meeting of the city council. And we ask that you refrain from speaking on side conversations because it makes it difficult for us to hear up here. If you need to speak to someone, you may exit and go outside. Because even if you're out in the hall, it still projects in here. So please do not speak during the meeting unless you are speaking at the podium. If you are interested in speaking at the podium, you do have to sign in. If you have not signed in, please do so. We will have a 20-minute limit for the total amount of public comments, and everyone will have 3 minutes maximum. We will give you a 30-minute warning. 30-second warning. She's got a card over there that you'll hold up. At 30 seconds when you're close to being completed in your 33 minutes. So, by all means, we don't mean to be disrespectful, but again, this is a business meeting in the council and it's so that we can hear each other. We also ask that you please be respectful to us and to others in the room. We know we have a lot of varying opinions and thoughts, and we can all agree to disagree, and we can do so kindly. So please do that. All right. So invocation by Pastor AJ Barada of the First Christian Church. See here. The one guy that's not here. Is he online by chance?
It changed. It went from one church to the other this year.
Nope. Yep, not online. Okay, so we will move on to number 3, Pledge of Allegiance. And Tim, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Bradley? Here. Bill?
Here.
Right off?
Here.
Isaac?
Here.
Hebring?
Here.
All right, before the approval of the agenda, I am going to make a change, a recommended change, that we move number 10, which is the municipal weekly garbage pickup update for the council, immediately following the public comments, in case some of you don't want to be here for the entire meeting. And I also am going to ask that our city administrator give a few words here before the public comments. We have had a lot of misinformation circulated and specifically around enforcing our code ordinances. And so I've asked Lisa to talk with our city attorney so that she can timeline out and explain the process involved with our nuisance code. Is there anything else that you would like to speak about first? Since that just pertains to a lot of the conversation, I feel like that should be addressed first. So then if that's your complaint, you will hear what that is up front. Can you hear me in the back?
No.
Which side? This side? So I need to speak this way? Okay, Lisa Cotter, city administrator.
I talk louder, so you'll hear me.
Wait just a second too.
Yes.
So then approve the agenda.
Yes, I will motion with that change.
Right off
Second.
and Heatbrink. Roll call. Bill?
Yes.
Right off?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Heatbrink?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
We do not have any proclamations or special notices right now. So Lisa, would you please give us an update for our attorney.
So thank you, everybody, for being here. We recognize that part of being in the country that we live in is we do have a right to have different opinions. And obviously, those of us that have been part of this conversation for a number of months here, all different sides of it, and we have tried to not ignore those and to be able to address the questions and the ones that we can answer today. And so each of you should have the sheet of paper in front of you that's also online if other people are looking for it. So we hope that you'll read through those and try to know that at least those are the facts that we can tell you today. The good news for the report that we had given that the city had not had an opportunity to formally meet with both Town and Country and Batten about the details of the program. That will be happening between myself and them on Thursday. So we're happy to report that there will be those conversations and that we're glad that we can at least move forward to gather information about what they can provide and then be able to have the city council evaluate that. The number one thing that I hear from people who do not think that this is appropriate and appropriate response from city people, from the city leadership, is that we should just enforce the code that we have or tweak the code that we have. So I want to talk you through a process so that you understand we're not trying to shirk that duty. We do have a full-time nuisance officer, but as we look at the tools that we have as a city to be able to help people clean up the nuisance properties, those that have trash, and we're not talking just about junk, large item things, we're talking about regular trash. And so as that process starts, I know one of the things that I haven't read through the petition, but I know that there are comments about the fact that we should lower the number of days. Right now, our code says that people have 30 days to accumulate garbage. I've heard the number that says 7. In conversation with our city attorney, we think that if we chose to change it, which is not a bad idea, that we would probably not go down to 7, that we would probably go at 14. Because if there was ever a missed pickup, you're now beyond 7 days and you would easily be out of compliance and too easily be out of compliance. So let's talk through what would happen if we had a 14-day code. One of the things that the city attorney said was that we have to prove that your garbage has been there for 14 days. So at any point that we see the garbage, Taylor, our nuisance officer, has a camera and it's stamped with a date and a time that he takes that picture. He went around on Friday and took like 15 houses that have mounds of garbage bags, not large item junk. And so that's what he took. So you would have a stamp of the day. And we have to prove before we're going to be able to write a citation that it's not just your 7-day-old garbage that we're citing you for. It really is your 14-day garbage. If we were to go to court and someone argued that they've only had that garbage there for 7 days at the time of the violation, we have to be able to say to them, here's the picture on day 1, which we notice. And again, if you're a neighbor to those people, that garbage has obviously been accumulating. We're not going to be able to drive around every day and see like day 1 when it starts. So now we'll take a picture. We'll take a second picture on day 14. And there starts where if we change the code, it would become a nuisance. At that point, we would then have that documentation and we would get into the point where we would now get into a nuisance abatement. And we would say, since we've noticed that your garbage has been there for 14 days, we're going to send them a letter. We're going to send them a letter in the mail, which is not a timely process. So we have to wait for them to get it. And we're likely going to say that you have 7 days to clean it up. Sometimes people comply, and that's certainly a possibility. What we can tell you from experience is most of the time, if you are in a position that that's how you live and choose to live, then you're probably not going to comply, or you likely would have cleaned up your garbage already. So we send you a notice and give you 7 days. We then have to go back and make sure that you have or have not cleaned it up. If you cleaned it up, mission accomplished, and we move along. If you have not done that yet, then we have to write you a citation and a municipal citation. We have to pay $95 in court at the cost of the taxpayers to submit that to the court. And then we have to get our attorney involved. So the person then gets notified that they've been written a citation. The citation doesn't have an amount because it depends at the end of the day how much. Our goal in the municipal infraction is to get you again on phase 2 to try and comply. Once you get that citation, the courts will then issue a preliminary hearing date where we're just getting together and you enter your plea. That typically takes 20 days. So now from the time that if you again start taking that timeline of we noticed you have 15 days, you have another week. And now before we even get to court with our nuisance officer and our city attorney, we will have had another 3 weeks pass. At that point, if someone, oftentimes this can be successful, they may say, you know what, I don't want to have a municipal infraction, so I'm going to clean it up. If they do, great. But again, our experience has been that most people that get to that point are not complying. Most of them don't even show up in court. If they plead not guilty, The next thing is that we have to schedule a hearing. The hearings in the court system today are about 30 more days out. So we're now waiting another month from all the month and a half that we've already done. We have a 30-day window. If they hire a lawyer, the lawyers are probably gonna start talking, and we are not going to have a 30-day hearing. They may ask to postpone it, have conversations. And in our most recent case that we had, when we got to court, the person did not show up. So there's no face-to-face conversation about, can you please, like, we're taking you through a nuisance ordinance, we're enforcing our code, and you're getting an infraction. We said at the time of the hearing that if the person cleaned it up with another 2 more weeks past the hearing date, they would have a citation of $250. If they didn't take that action within 2 weeks, their citation would go up to $750. And that is our only way of recouping the cost of the legal process with which we have just gone through. So all of us as taxpayers pay those fees, and those are not recouped, regardless of what the legal fees are in the attorney. I looked at a case that we had, that we were dealing with a person in the months of July and August. We wrote them a citation on September 7th, and then we took the last week of November, happy Thanksgiving week. That's when we finally got to their property. So that was a full 3 months from legal action to the end when we actually got to their house and took their garbage. And if you again look at the process ahead of that, there would have been weeks, if not a month or 2 before that, because we try to be lenient and get people to comply. In the end, the person was issued a $750 citation, and the cost of our legal fees were over $1,000. So right there, and then we can also ask for the $95 court fee as a part of our restitution. We don't just get to ask for the legal fees. We try to create citations that at least help the taxpayers to get that money back. In the end, again, the case that I'm talking about from a timeline, regardless if it's 10 bags of garbage or a very large number of junk items, this in this case was a junk item, but the process takes the same amount of time. And in that case, the bill was $3,500. We had 2 police officers there because the person is violent. They don't want us on their property. That's why we're in the position that we're at. The chief was there, the fire chief was there. And then again, because it was a lot of junk, we had a number of municipal employees there, and $3,500 later, we cleaned that up. Now, how do we recoup those costs? We will put it on the tax roll if they pay their taxes. And that, of course, as you know, people can be delinquent for a number of years before they actually would lose their house. They have not paid their citation. And so all of those things are the types of things from a fiscal responsibility standpoint that the council has to balance. While we understand there is a nuisance code and we do our best to enforce it. But I think people say, so often I hear people coming in, I see your comments on Facebook to say, we have the codes, just enforce them. And we want you to understand that at least when you say that's the choice that you believe we should make, we respect that. But we at least want you to understand that it's not as simple as a 7-day notice and on 8th day that we're gonna come and take your garbage. What we believe when it comes to the things like the carts is that as Taylor, our nuisance officer, goes up and has a conversation with someone, if he delivers those notices, and oftentimes he is stopping and having personal conversations before we get to the paperwork side of this code enforcement, is he's having conversations. If he's having a conversation with someone who does not have garbage pickup, it is much more challenging to say, you have a cart here. Even if I've heard lots of people say, like, if you're messy, you're messy. If that's how you live, that's how you live, and they're not gonna change. But if Taylor's there and there is a cart, the tool is there in the toolbox to say, please put your junk bags, like not your junk, your large item stuff, but your bags of trash. Come on, like get out here with us, put it in the garbage can and take it to the curb. They will be here tomorrow. They will be here in 2 days. It's much easier to try and get compliance than going to a house where someone doesn't have a hauler and simply has the ability to, like, we hope then as we walk away and ask you to do it, we hope you call Battens, we hope you call Town and Country. And then eventually when they come and pay their bill, I know when I signed up for service, I believe I had to get there right away and pay it. Like it wasn't like, and we hope you pay us in a month. And so we're not trying to be difficult. We're not trying to say that what we think is right is what all of you believe in. But what we're trying to say is that we want the best success to be able to enforce the codes that we have. We will still have nuisance properties that will go through that same process that I just explained. But we just want you to know that that's sort of the avenue with which we're going to. I've heard a lot of things about elderly people. if the haulers are willing, as they do right now, whoever is chosen, if they are willing to come up to the driveway and get someone's cart, and that's what they're willing to do, if they can reassure us that they have a system, so that if we have 20 calls that say, I'm the 20 houses that can't come up and get my cart to the curb, if they have a good system to keep track of that, so that we assure the people, we're gonna tell them who it is, and they're gonna get that cart up their driveway, we have no problem saying that that's okay. But we have to know that the haulers have a good system to be able to do that. People say that's what they do now. The question is, when they have more customers, will they still have a good system? And that's part of the conversation that we want to have. People talk about if I'm a landlord who has a vacant property, I snowbird, my mother is in a Arlington place and she doesn't live there. If they again are able to keep track of who's not home and who is home, and we know that as they come up to the house that we're no longer charging, that they won't pick up the garbage from there and cost us more money. I'm envisioning that it probably wouldn't turn you on and off for a month, but I can envision turning you off and on for 2 months or more with notice to us. So we do hear the things that you say, and we do want to try and address them. We are not just trying to put a hammer down and say whatever we say is the best way. We want to have those conversations. And I think most importantly for today, we wanted to help you understand the process with which we go through in terms of nuisances, and that at least you understand that from our perspective, that maybe you don't see that entire totality of the time frame that it takes. But we hope at least you understand that as the council balances, if the best way to handle it is as it is right now, and to simply enforce the code or even change the code, or if they feel like having a garbage citywide program helps us keep our community in compliance with those codes, then that's one of the things that we're trying to balance. So we're not gonna answer questions. I know that the mayor and I did talk about if people have questions as you come up, it won't be an engaging conversation, but we will write down the questions and try to address them. Anybody that's come to City Hall, I've tried to speak to. I see some of you that have been in my office and talked to me. And obviously the elected officials can also answer those questions. The website is a good tool. The sheets that you have are good tools. So we're looking forward to hearing what those of you that are speaking have to say. And again, want you to know that we are trying to work in balancing all the things that we do as city leaders, and to be able to help listen to you and still lead the city in the way that the council deems necessary. So thank you.
And again, I just want to reiterate that that process does in fact cost taxpayers. What we're proposing is a pass-through and is no cost to the taxpayers in general. You're basically paying the provider through us. So I just wanted to clarify that that would be an additional cost to the taxpayers when we do that. And in the last quarterly report that our nuisance officer gave, of all of the nuisances that he has cited, 58 were for trash and 4 of them were in court. So that was for a quarter. I just wanted you to be aware, because we hear that people are saying we don't have a problem, but we clearly have a problem. All right.
Did you move 10 before 7 or after?
I moved it after 7. So there's a number of other things that we'll continue to, we'll address later, but we will go ahead and get started now with this list. Is there anyone that's on this list that now would choose not to speak? Okay, so we'll just start at the top. Kevin Carlisle with Town and Country Sanitation. And you do have 3 minutes. Do you want me to put you to the end?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, you have 3 minutes, and at 30 seconds before the end of your time, we will hold up the card. And there are 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 people.
I got a lot less than the 3 minutes that we.
Okay, all right, thanks, Kevin. All right, so we'll move on to Elaine Holland. And be sure to state your name and your address. And again, we will not be responding back, but if you ask questions, we'll be recording those, okay? And again, we ask everyone to please, no side conversations. Thank you.
And does my 3 minutes start?
Now, right.
My name is Elaine Perkins Holland, and I live at 610 East Oak Street. First off, to the council, thank you for your service. I know this isn't easy. I'm just here to give my opinion. It's not to downgrade you or anything else. The visual appearance of our community is way more encompassing than weekly trash and trash cans. Personal properties such as homes needing paint and general upkeep are much more of an eyesore than our trash has ever been. It states in your proposed curbside garbage document that was written up, the reason another vendor would be hired is that the two haulers being given priority do not come to the table to negotiate the terms with the city and or the council, determines the price, and service being offered is not acceptable. This is their individual business. We, the people, are not upset with their prices or services. My question is, are you negotiating? I don't know if I were a hauler, if I would have met with you either, as it seems like it's a let's make a deal reality TV show. Rather than negotiating, it sounds mandated, and if they don't agree to cut their cost and give the city what they want, they will go to someone else located out of Montgomery County. You state you have fiscal responsibility to the Red Oak residents. Well, in my opinion, this is a violation of my personal rights. The fiscal responsibility you have is to manage the city's budget, not to individual local businesses. Why are you putting the burden on the local haulers to make the price cheaper? Why put more demands on them to purchase a portion of the toters and potential toter dumpers for their trucks when the homeowners are already happy with their service from these two companies? This almost sounds like bullying at its best. Speaking for small business owners, we don't need the local government getting involved in the trash business. What might be next if we start down this slope? However, if you've already received a trash quote from someone else besides these two, we need to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. Go ahead and mandate trash removal. Allow the garbage haulers to handle the billings that they have, and they can alternate who has the new customers. Allow the nuisance officers or police to write tickets, and now there's more to that story than I realized. Mandatory removal, as you are proposing, will not force those people to move trash from their porch or garage to a toter on the curb. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
30 seconds.
Let's work together, volunteers to help clean up properties, get Habitat for Humanity involved to help paint or clean up, community service for prisoners or others needing time to pay back to our community. When taking your walks, take garbage bags with you and pick up the garbage. We have doggy bags on the trail sites. What about supplying bags to pick up when one with garbage? We will all succeed if we take a different approach and work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Howard Johnson.
I'd like to reserve my time so I can cede it to somebody that may get cut off. The last meeting, somebody was rudely shut up that should have been able to speak. So I'll just reserve my time.
They get 3 minutes,
They get
sir.
3
They
minutes,
get
no
3
matter
minutes.
who's
Yep.
up there,
Yep.
Howard. So,
Okay. Are you sure? I
You don't
will
want to
mark
speak?
you off if you don't want to speak.
Well, if everybody was listening in Miss Cotter's remarks, she said, yeah, we know there's going to be some trashy places. You're always going to have that.
All right, Martha Bopp. You would be next.
Martha Bob, 103 East Linden. 2 weeks ago, I went home and I wrote on a legal pad, should the city of Red Oak enact curbside pickup of trash? That's it. I don't know anything about petitions, okay? So this one, you don't have to pay any attention to. I don't have phone numbers. I do have addresses and I do have names. I went to the hospital, lunchroom. I went to the YMCA,
The library.
the library, and people signed this. There were 47, I believe, no's, 1 yes, and 1 I haven't made up my mind. Every single person who signed this piece of paper has given me permission to give this to the city council so that Mr. Bills and who only heard from 4 people, you all can go through, those are your words. 2
It
weeks
was
ago.
actually 12, but yeah.
Two weeks ago, it was 4. Look it up. It should be in the minutes.
Keep going.
All of these people, if you read through here, you will find people in your wards. You guys need to talk to us. This can't come up. Oh my God, what are they talking about? You guys need to talk.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Thank you, Martha. John Gross.
John Gross, 304 East Prospect Street. To go with her petition, I took it upon myself. This one went around Red Oak. Less than a week, we have 817 upset citizens about this mandatory trash. These are your programs. Whatever they feel like. So you can have these if you like them. I have copies. You can verify everybody's address. They are all citizens in Red Oak. That proves nobody wants pressure about this. Most of those people that have been talked to personally have agreed. We would love to go with Baton and Town and Country. And if they want to raise their price $2 or $3 on everybody they go with to pay for twice a year to dump big dumpsters in this town, to do a citywide cleanup that's paid for them, they wouldn't have a problem with that. Nobody on that paper would ever fight that. But you put it on our water bill, there's no stopping what can be charged later on.
That's right.
That's government.
Yeah.
Yep.
Denise Lester.
My name is Denise Lester, 1104 Kelly Circle, and I'm gonna say right now, I doubt you're gonna clap for me, but I just want to tell you another side of the story so that you all know this. To start off, I want to thank the city council in particular for the service and dedication to what they think is best for Red Oak. After sitting on the council for 12 years, it is not an easy position at all. Unless you have sat in their seats, you have no idea. Yes, they are elected, but people are quick to criticize them for caring and try to do what is best for Red Oak. Social media can at times be an easy way to attack people, businesses, etc., without knowing all the facts. I challenge you to listen to both sides before you blast the waves. I will tell you now, I may not agree with you, but I certainly will not take my thoughts and words to social media. I would hope you would have the same respect. As I reached out to the city council people, I stated that I have learned over the years that the vocal group is often the opposition group. I have learned over the years from school bond issues, council items, whatever there is out there, often the majority is silent. And I cannot blame them for being silent. That being said, I would like to see some kind of mandatory curbside trash pickup. Take a drive around town, open your eyes and look. I wish we were also involving curbside recycling. Red Oak needs to move forward and not get stuck on comments like it has always been this way. It works just fine, or similar thoughts. Progress is sometimes painful, but in the long run, it can be rewarding. I hope the city can work with our two current larger trash haulers if they move forward, but some of that depends on them. Being involved with many projects, I have always believed sometimes you have to spend money to make money. That would be my challenge to them. For the record, I've seen a lot saying we have other things we need to do with funds. All funds are not transferable to other things. Example, just because one fund may have a lot of money, you don't have the legal right to spend it on something that you think we should. Budgets are a complex thing. So thanks again for listening to another side, and I wish everybody luck, and I know it'll be a good decision and thought well through. So thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. And Stuart?
Okay, public speaking. My name is Ann Stewart, 1001 East Washington Avenue, 401. Thank you for having us here. Thank you for the information you put out there. It's good to, have that information available. I am not in favor of this program. I'm sorry. I understand where it comes from. A place of we want Red Oak to look better. But we're talking about something that's going to impact 30% of Red Oak. That's more than a quarter. You're talking about adding a bill that they don't have right now. And I understand that 26 might not seem like a lot to some people. I mean, that's, but to some, that might be the reason they
I call order, excuse me. I call order in the council. No side speaking, please. Thank you.
Sorry,
Continue.
a little quiet speaking, but that might be the reason they decide not to move here because they're already struggling. And a lot of these families that don't have trash bills are struggling. I think we would be better served into looking to programs that would help these people. I've heard about doing this twice a year, trash and junk, curbside, whatever that looks like. I would be in favor of that. That fellow mentioned, adding it to, existing trash bills for the companies. That is something that I think a lot of people would be in support of. I know there are lots of different organizations in town that we could reach out to that would probably be in favor of helping these people. Because these people, they're probably, most of them, not able to be here because of what they're struggling with. And, I think we just need to be more considerate of some of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle Cross.
I'm Kyle Cross, just here as in opposition of this. Few things, questions I'd like to ask. I know they can't be answered. You proposed changing it to a 14-day. Why not leave it at a 7-day? That way, if it's at 7 days, the nuisance officer sees it, puts a sticky note on the door of the offending person, giving them 7 days to get it picked up. There's the 14 days, you haven't, been less than 7 days, you can take pictures, note that. First time they get a warning, second time, give them $100 ticket. Instead of giving them a citation, can't they be written a ticket to be charged for this? No court fees, no court, no nothing, same as a traffic ticket. If that could be done, then that would be great. And I don't know if the code enforcement officer has the authority to write tickets. If not, maybe give him the authority to write tickets, or you have to excuse me, I'm fighting a cold, or have a police officer write a ticket to them. So that's all I had, just real simple. Thank you.
Thank you. The Wambacher.
Madam Mayor, member of the council, Bill Bombacher, 1103 East Corning Street. And I'm here, part of the reason I'm here is to talk about the comprehensive plan. As chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, I recommended the comprehensive plan to the city, but I would like to offer a couple of clarifications in my mind. When we talk about the comprehensive plan being the reason for the impetus of some of this, I'm not sure where exactly in the comprehensive plan some of the information came from, but I would steer you to, and I know you'll take notes and look at it later, to look at page 81, and there you see the garbage on properties received 3 mentions out of all of the things, which is not insignificant. It does definitely put in the top half. But when you look at the compilation on page 80 through 88. Sorry, let me get my, there we go. On page 83, when people were asked in the comprehensive plan workshop, please select your top 5 priorities that you feel the local government needs to improve upon first. When looking at top 5 priorities, trash ended up dead last. Okay, so there are a lot of things on there, but it ended up dead last for top 5 priorities. So a few people thought it was number 1, but most people did not place it as a top issue. So I just wanted to mention that, again, page 83. Next, I'd like to talk briefly about the numbers we're talking about. We talked earlier about 15 homes were looked at. And this information says there are 2,400 homes in town. That is 0.62%. Even if we go with the 58 number, that's less than 2.5%. So I'm not sure, I would not agree that addressing an issue that
30
affects
seconds.
2.5, thank you, 2.5% is the right time to municipalize something that clearly most of the population does not want municipalized. So, and I can tell you myself, I don't want those ginormous garbage cans on my property. When I drive down my street, I'm very pleased with the appearance of, in my neighborhood, of trash cans coming out one day a week and being gone by noon usually. Thank you.
Is it Lydia Hennig? Linda? King, I'm sorry, Linda King? Okay, she'll pass. Okay, so then Kevin?
Problem solved, keep it short. At least it kind of. Kevin with Town and Country Sanitation.
You can have my time, Kevin.
Yes, I know I can. It's in the code. To kind of back up with what Lisa did say, yes, but we have a meeting scheduled. And yes, we have met a couple times, but I just want to clarify, because I thought I picked it up on the interview on the radio, was I'd like to clarify that Lynette and I met with Lisa individually in the beginning. I did once, and I think Lynette maybe twice, I don't know. We've met 3 times together since then. The first time that we didn't meet with her, I chose to leave that. I felt we didn't have direction from the council at the time. So that's when it got on the agenda. You guys voted to give her the direction to go forward. The second time, Lynette even said it at the council meeting, at the January 20th council meeting, she was not available until after the 5th due to some personal issues. And it was kind of met with, I don't know what the word is, but anyway, we're gonna meet again, so hopefully, we can move forward or drop it, one or the other, so, thanks.
All right, thank you. So now moving on, we're gonna move number 10 up. So municipal weekly garbage pickup update from the city council. Lisa.
So again, I think I basically don't have any other updates, except obviously we spent time. I spent time trying to put together the document. We created a website that would have that document, any links to the YouTube videos with the minute indication, the packets. Tried to explain that in my packets, we put those cover sheets. So that's how we're trying to keep the public informed. Obviously, we will take the 2 documents that we received. We'll scan those in and make sure that all the council members get those via email. We'll send those to you so that you can review them on behalf of Martha and John, who turned them in. And then I'm preparing to send them tomorrow, kind of a list of questions, both to Kevin and Lynette, so that they understand at least what the things are that I hope they can try to help us get information back to the council on. Things like price, how they envision, like I said, how they will keep track of elderly people, how they would keep track of if we turn somebody off, what kinds of fees there would be, all those various things that we would need to know. And then we'll see if we need another meeting after Thursday. I would assume that we will. We'll probably give them the list and then come back and forth. We obviously, part of why we wanted to meet in January was that we're now kind of deep in the budget and need to get that done, but we'll do our best to continue to have those meetings, see what kind of amount of time they feel like they need. Recognizing that we understand all of you that signed the petition, turned it in. are in disagreement, but I think at least it's fair to say that we're gonna bring this to a final decision with information. I don't, unless the council wants to say because that was turned in that we would stop here today, but I would guess that you at least want to continue that conversation to get us to a point of knowing what both Baton and Town and Country can provide us, and then be able to balance that with whether or not we bring them in to have a formal contract, to bid it out, or as some people have said, to drop it altogether. And so I don't really have anything else in that report, unless anybody has any questions from the council directly. We can look at some of the things or a few things that we can add of people that asked questions. If we have anything that we feel like is appropriate, we can re-download the document back online and add those there. Otherwise, I think it's really just time for us to, or myself to meet with our haulers and see where we can go from there.
Okay. First, I want to thank you for putting this together, because you have spent a great deal of time on it. And even though you've got this out there, there's still people saying parts of this that are still misinformation. So that makes it challenging, because there's still misinformation that is being told. And I also appreciate the fact that we've put it together on a website page with links to this, with links to all of our city council YouTube videos. And I think you're going to be adding the KCSI radio podcast station. So anytime that we're interviewed or Lisa's interviewed out at KCSI, they've created recorded podcasts. So those are also available that you can hear. And so I just appreciate your time putting that together. I feel like we're being extremely transparent, and I guess I would open it up for council conversation or council comments.
Not really a discussion item.
Okay. It's-
Yeah.
It's just an update.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say you can't take comment, but I think we're
Okay,
discussing.
so comments.
I have received, I quit keeping track at 50. I've received somewhere between 100 and 150 calls. Not only from Ward 1, but from all over town. Now, to all of those people I talked to, only one was in favor of it. Now, that's pretty poor odds of justifying doing this. So therefore, I move that we put this on a public referendum.
Adam, Tim, any comments?
So I've got a few.
Okay.
So I just want to address something that was said earlier. My comment at the last meeting was I talked to 11 people. 4 of them were not in my ward. That was my comment. So since then, I've been keeping track as well. I received another 9 phone calls. Some of them were positive, some of them were negative. I received 18 emails. And of those 18 emails, 16 of them were addressed to the rest of the council. They were not all negative. Some of those were positive as well. I've answered every single phone call that I've received. I have answered every single email that I've received.
You have not. I emailed you, sir. I've never
Okay.
received any.
Again, I'm sorry. No comments.
Comments done.
No comments.
We listen to you.
Anyway,
It's time to
if I
listen.
received an email from someone, I answered their email. I've heard from a total of like 35 people on this matter. And I've responded to everyone that I've received an email or a phone call from, and I've even called people back when I've missed their phone calls. I'd like to make a couple other comments. Some of the stuff that I'm hearing, I have a hard time wrapping my head around. But one of them that I really had difficulty with the other day was I got an email from somebody that was against this service. But a year and a half ago, they called me to complain about their neighbor's trash piled up behind the house. So, you know, you cannot have it both ways. That's one. And then I'd like to just make, this is a little side note, just a little anecdotal thing. Maybe you'll get a laugh out of it, maybe you won't. January 5th, 1915, the Red Oak Express headline was the Red Oak City Council is addressing concerns about and objections of sanitary sewer hookups. That's turned out to be a pretty good deal so far. So I'll say no more.
Thank you. Okay. Sharon, any comments?
I've also received several calls and several emails. I've tried to answer back what I could. The last couple of days I haven't, but I have had probably more objections than I have positive. But the positive ones have been very good about what they think that we should do. So I, as a member at large, am trying to take everybody's consideration, and just so you know that.
I don't have much more to add. Again, I've done my best to respond, so if I've missed one, be sure to resend it. But I've done my best to respond to all the emails that I've gotten. Again, a number of them were positive. Thank you to everyone that came out tonight. Thank you to all that stepped up to speak at that podium, because that's not an easy thing to do. Not everybody's great with public speaking or just comfortable in general, voicing their opinion in front of a large group of people. So I think that's a great thing. This is what a public forum is supposed to be about. As a council, we're doing our best here, but in the end, we're still your neighbor. We're still part of your community. We're volunteers that help with the events that you and your families enjoy. So maybe don't try to vilify us too much if it's something that you don't like, because we are truly doing our best because we love our city. And that's always going to be our goal, no matter if it's something that you disagree with or you agree with. We're here to do our best. And I hope that regardless of what happens after this, we can still meet on the street, shake hands, and be cordial one to another, because really, in the world we live in now, we need a little bit more civility and dignity to treat each other with respect. So thank you all for what you had to say. I appreciate all the comments, but I do want to point out, Janice, just because that's the most difficult thing, is to come forward in a group of people that are opposed to something and say that you support it. That does take a lot of bravery, because it's very easy to sit behind a keyboard or some other Facebook page to voice your opinion and not step out of the shadows and speak your piece. And I think that's something to be to be admired personally. And I think that's probably why a lot of people don't speak their support of this, because they don't want to be vilified. They don't want to start an argument with their friend, with their neighbor, with their coworker, with their local merchant that they go to buy their things at. And so I think just a little bit of grace goes a long way. And that's my opinion on it.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Great comments. Appreciate that. We can't make a motion. It's not an action item. It's not an action item, John. It's not an action item.
Why are we trying to take action on it?
We're not. I gave you a chance to provide your comments to the update that Lisa provided. Okay, number 11, ordinance, I'm sorry, back up. Number 8, consent agenda. This is, includes the minutes of the city council meeting from January 20th, 25. And January.
Take a 2-minute recess.
Yeah,
Okay.
if anybody wants to leave now, they
All right, we'll take a 2-minute recess for anybody who wants to leave.
So yeah, the garbage discussion's over, so if you're not gonna stay for the rest of the council meeting, you wanna leave, you can do so now.
Thanks for that, Tim. That's good. That was just off the cuff. I didn't even plan on saying anything.
John, I don't know why so many people are talking. Nobody calls.
Have you seen the positive emails though? Because they've gone to your email.
Yeah.
I got 3 today.
On our city email.
I mean, I was looking at the government, but a lot of them I don't get. How many people you got?
Honestly, in person? No. Email. I'm
brief break. All right, now we're gonna go on to number 8, the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the city council meeting on January 20th, 25 and January 21st, 2025. The planning and zoning commission meeting on 1/27/25 and the park and tree board minutes from 1/9/25. And then also the annual liquor licenses for Family Dollar, Bucksnort, and Hy-Vee Incorporated.
I move to approve.
Friedhoff
And I'll second.
and Bradley, roll call.
Friedhoff,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Number 9, the February 3rd, 2025 city claims to be paid.
I got a problem trying to approve these claims because I haven't got the financial status of the city, so how much money we got to spend?
Unfortunately, our software is pretty dysfunctional right now, and so we're trying to get caught up. But
Well, that shouldn't help me any because I don't know how much we got to spend.
well, I understand.
And, you know, I'm a little leery of trying to pay claims when I don't know how much is in my pocketbook.
Unfortunately, the people that came before us decided to continue to put off the software upgrades, and that's a difficult situation. I can tell you that after reviewing it, in the various accounts that we are spending money out of, there is money, but if we run the reports, we can run them, but they won't be correct.
And most of the money that the claims are for budgeted items. And so, I would approve the claims as presented.
Okay, Bradley
I'll second.
and Bills. Roll call.
Isaac,
No.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yeah.
Bill,
Yes.
Friedhoff,
Yes.
Number 11 is the ordinance 2025-01, city council payroll quarterly. This is our final reading, third and final reading. Again,
To approve the final reading.
Friedel
I'll second
and Hebrink. Roll call.
Wait a minute. You got a motion, we're gonna discuss it?
Okay, we can have a discussion.
Council's not the only one on a monthly payroll. How come everybody else that's on a monthly payroll isn't considered into this motion, this fiasco?
Are you meaning the mayor?
Yeah,
I think Elise has explained this before because I'm more involved in the city day-to-day business.
so that means you should get paid before we do.
She gets paid a lot more as well, John.
A lot
Well,
more.
more
300.
from the perspective of the administrative side, it was because she's salaried. So we're putting her in there. Each time for you, we have to add your number of meetings and it's a different process. Her check is 300 and
Well, it's down
something.
to putting in a number of meetings and everything else is automatically figured. So you're not saving any time.
With
You
our,
are saving time.
How?
with our software.
Because instead of entering the 5 of you 15 times, we enter you 5 times.
How much time are we saving?
It was just a suggestion. And that's what
Honestly,
we,
how much time do you think we're saving?
I haven't been asked before, but it could be by the time we have to put all of those in and then calculate it each time. So if somebody misses a meeting, then the amount changes. So Susie has to do a spreadsheet. It's not a lot of time, but we're trying to
So
make it more
basically,
efficient.
we're not saving diddly squat for time.
A little bit, we are. We're trying to,
If this person doing payroll can't keep up with it, maybe we should find someone who can.
not what we said. We just said that there's things that we're doing to try and make things more efficient.
Yep.
And that was why I asked if the
I
council was
think
supportive.
you're blowing smoke up the smokestack.
You haven't seen the software. It's archaic, like dinosaur. They hand enter
It's more about
everything.
software.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. We need software that works in partnership with what we're trying to do, not against us, so that Susie has to take a week trying to do payroll. So we are going to upgrade that, which is another item in the packet.
The way I look at it is instead of sending out 2 checks to us, we're just sending out 1. That's just what it is. I'm just looking at it, it's just compounded together.
Three to one.
Three,
Right.
I'm sorry,
Yep,
yes.
you're good. That's
Thank
3 to
you.
1.
But then it's just, I don't need to sit and get these small little checks.
$73.10.
Right. I'd rather have it one time instead of
Mhm.
small amounts.
Okay. So we have a first and a second, and again, this is the third reading of this ordinance, roll call.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
right off,
Yes.
Isaac,
No.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Okay, number 12, resolution 2025-06. This is authorizing the city clerk to certify tax liens for delinquent utilities.
delinquent any kind of liens.
Yeah.
So the
I'll make
city,
that motion.
I'll second it. I don't think I need further explanation from you, but I mean, if anybody is welcome to obviously
do
discuss.
a quick sentence
I'm
for
good.
the public. We have not been as diligent as we should have been to be able to put liens that people have not paid on the tax roll. It's a tool that's been in the toolbox in our city code. We haven't really asserted that right to do that. So I spoke with Bree, our city attorney, to make sure that we did it properly. I know the process of getting it to the county, but she wanted to make sure that you, through this resolution, gave Ashley or Susie, in the case of deputy clerk, that we would have that authority appropriately granted to them. So what'll happen is if you have a lien or something that hasn't been paid, you would have a notice given to you at least 30 days before we send it to the county. And then it'll tell you clearly stating that you have a bill that's due to the city, and it has to state that it will be going on the tax roll in the future if it's not paid within those 30 days. So those will go out in somewhere in February. We need to get it to the county in May. So this simply authorizes Ashley as our city clerk to be able to place those liens on the tax bills if they're not paid.
I reviewed this and I will second that motion.
I already seconded.
Oh, you seconded.
I got jumped ahead.
So we've got
sorry.
bills and write-off and a second for Bradley. Roll call.
That's the third.
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
right off,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yeah.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Number 13 is resolution 2025-07. This is the approval for the software conversion to civic systems, which will actually put us into the 21st century. Right? Our
Right.
staff are static. Absolutely ecstatic.
So the software that we have right now, which is called G-Works, is not a cloud-based program. And on December 31st of this year, the program that we have will no longer have tech support provided to it. The tech support that we have right now is not fabulous as it is, but we will have no tech support on December 31st. If we are to approve this tonight, it'll take about 6 months to get us to the point of conversion. That's why, even though it's not till the end of December, this would not likely be, I'm not sure exactly when the fees will be paid. There may be some coming out of this year's budget. My proposal in the resolution is that the funds would come from the remaining funds of the 2024 bond, so that that's clear where that's coming from. And then as we work through with Dorsey and Whitney, our bond counsel, to make sure that whatever action we have to take for the totality of the money that has not been spent, that we will spend it accordingly and be able to proceed with that. But it'll take a while till we have to pay, and by the time we actually make payments, I did send all of you a web portal that you could watch it. All of the office staff and all of the management team members have had an opportunity to walk through a demo, both recorded, the one that I sent you, and then we also had a live demo so that they can understand. There was one slight variation that I made from the last packet, which is on page 44 of your packet, the yellow line item, which is the community portal. I didn't realize that wasn't in the quote. What that means is that anything on top of utility bills, which you could pay, that portal will allow us to, you can pay a building permit online, you could pay a pool pass online, kind of bring us into more modern times with those payments. And it'll be more interactive. And so instead of it just being utility bills like it is now, I think that's more useful, and I think that's worth that extra money, in my opinion. So I did add that to the total. If you would want to take it out, you could just say that it's not in there, but my recommendation would be to proceed with the prices on page 44. And then you'll recall that my opinion on it was that we should take that bond money and spend it on where we pay up front. And then we have a smaller annual free fee. So if you look again on page 44, either way, you have to pay the second and third column, the 22,000 and the 14,000. You have to pay that either way when you sign up through the process of signing up. The difference becomes if you want to pay the 47 up front or pay 20 versus 29. So if you don't pay the 47, you'll pay 29. Our budget right now is $18,000 for G-Works. So what I liked about the 20,000 is we'll take the total out of the bond and then we'll have a more level playing field on the operating budget. So I think that's wise because of our circumstances of having the capital funds right now, as opposed to doing it the other way.
Just the efficiency.
How long do they offer some tech support for this program?
What do you mean?
Always.
For the old or the new?
For the new one?
Like how long or?
Yeah, I mean, is it a certain
Just
time?
for the
that
life of the program or?
Is it included in the
Yeah.
program?
Yeah.
Tech support, okay.
Yeah, that's part of, your annual subscription will be the last column, that 20,000. So you're paying each year, that's what you'd be paying. There might be, they said sometimes they see like a 2 or 3% increase in
And
those.
does the pricing include all the updates on the module that we?
There is no actual updates like we have right now because it's all cloud-based.
Okay.
So then you're not actually paying for upgrades like you do in the software server world that we have right now. This will also, one of the goals will be, as we're working with our IT people, is that we are hoping that we unfortunately just spent a lot of money on this large server that we have. And as you move to everything being cloud-based, at least going forward, we would likely never have to buy a server like we just did, because you're not hosting any of the information that we use on a server. And that has been a challenge to take all of our remote locations. We have our server here, it used to be at City Hall, like stuff goes down, it is super unpleasant. That's part of the point, John, like we had an entire Monday where none of us could work in that system. Absolutely 5 people.
You add Saturday and Sunday to that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Correct.
And this has the search function, which is going to be a lot easier for you to.
Yeah, like it's,
Fine.
you can't even like compare the two worlds. It's,
Totally different.
and Matt's speaking back there because again, they are aware when they're here, since our server is hosted at the fire station here, the physical thing is here. And so it's challenging. That happened one Sunday. On the Sunday that it happened, I worked all day Saturday. G-Works worked perfectly fine. I don't do the daily stuff that the office staff does. I'm doing it more budget related and checking in on things, running reports. I'm not entering utility bills. I'm not doing payroll. I'm not entering bank rec and things like that, but it worked on Saturday night, and when I got to work on Sunday morning, it was gone. So when those things are in the cloud, you just don't have the same challenges, and G-Works, either way, we have to switch. So it's really like, do we want to stay with G-Works? And I think I explained at the last meeting that the people who have converted from the old to the new G-Works have just had a really unpleasant experience. Those who go to the city clerks meetings can attest that like all the clerks get together, they're kind of the spokesperson who uses them the most. And people are super unhappy with the way it's gone. Like our tech support isn't great now and it really wouldn't change. I have experience with civic systems. What was more important to me is hearing from other people in Iowa that have gone through the conversion, like Boone, Iowa, for example, has gone through the conversion from G-Works to civic systems and had a really smooth, pleasant experience. And so this is my recommendation and I would recommend proceeding.
Is there anything extra we'll have to do to use that bond issue money, or is this resolution covered?
We're not gonna actually spend the money yet, and so yes, I do believe there is something we have to do. I just wanna be able to get on their schedule, because I said it's 6 months out. So we're clearly stating in here that we do, but yes, we'll have to figure out once we make our last Barcom payment for the townhomes. And then we now know what our electric costs are gonna be, so we'll be able to say like, if it's that $800,000 figure or so. And then as we work through the budget, we'll be able to say, all right, how do we wanna spend that? We obviously have the fire truck money that is sitting, but that's probably a 27, I think is what the chief said we're looking at, so. We'll get there, but yes, I do believe there will be further action on the totality of whatever we do.
But at least we're earning decent interest on that money that's sitting in there.
Right.
So that's good.
That's great.
We're probably making money on the deal.
It's at least better, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Motion to approve the resolution 2025-07 for the software conversion to the civic systems with the addition of the interactive payment forms.
okay, thank you, Sharon. So first by Bradley,
Second.
second by Bills. Any further discussion?
I would just say that I am very happy for you all, because I know that when you got a system that doesn't work, the last thing you want is the people pulling their hair out because something doesn't work right. So I know the system was very archaic and all across the board for all the employees. I know this will be a great thing. So I'm very excited for you all.
Yes.
Page 46 pretty much wraps up about what it does right there.
Yep.
From accounts payable to cash receipts, general ledger, payroll, utility billing. That's what we need updated.
Exactly.
And for people to also pay online where they're not being have to come in. So this to me makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, things like direct deposit, like right now, Susie, when you talk about the payroll system, has to manually create a document that she sends to the bank instead of it being in there. One of the
Every
things that's
single
super
time.
great from a field perspective, so every time we have a shut off, if a meter read doesn't read correctly, Todd, who's our meter employee in the water department, has to come to City Hall, grab something from Donna, go back out in the field, come back. This has an online portal where we own tablets out in the field. She'll create a work order that says, hey, Adam's house, we don't have a reading. It goes immediately to their phone and drops them a notification. They will then be able to go into the portal, go to Adam's house, read the reading, put it in there. It sends it right back to Donna and she resolves it. Like not that we don't want to have human interaction with each other, but it's super efficient. One of the things that it has a Google Maps layer in it. And so as it sends somebody, like it can even be used for like the street department, if someone reports a pothole. And all of our parcels will be on Google Maps and it'll literally say like where it is. So you'll get a map that says like Adam's house, if we were going to his house, like here's where it is, not just the address. But like everything is super high tech. And not in we're overspending sort of way, just recognizing that the technology's out there. The department heads will have a lot easier time as we go through this first budget, like the access that they had to information is just not great.
Yes.
Karen, from an accounts payable perspective, will be able to scan a bill and then assign it. So if every department head has the phone bill, the cell phone bill, whatever bills it is, it'll immediately send out a message to them in the portal. It'll say, hey, you have an invoice to approve. And they can all go through that process, make sure it's coded correctly, send it back out, and everything is just super smooth, super efficient. It assigns, for example, Justin, as our police chief, would have all the officers that he would assign in payroll. People will enter their time in payroll. It'll then, once they submit their time, it will go to their supervisor assigned to them in the system. It will again notify the supervisor, you have timesheets to approve. If Justin is on vacation, he can assign it to Derek. And he can actually in the portal say, I'm on vacation for this week. And then the notifications would go to Derek as our second in command. On top of which is most important, payroll is probably one of the biggest impacts, is that right now Susie is taking all of that data off of paper timesheets and putting it onto there. If there's two people that have different positions with us, like we have a police officer that does part-time fire, she has to go in, enter their police wages, change their wage, go in and enter their fire wages, our fire hours. And so there's a lot of room for human error. Everything that comes into the system will get dumped in there. There's no data entry. She'll just be using her eyes to be able to review it and okay it, to compare it. Everything in terms of leave time will all be calculated in the system. It's just super efficient and a lot less room for error.
So on the general ledger, since we have all these accounts that we have that have not been closed out.
Yes.
This goes back to what John is saying, with the general ledger, we can actually then have everything up to date, how much money we have in certain accounts.
Yes.
That's being spent out.
Yes.
So for me, again, that's gonna take a lot of process to all those accounts that we don't have closed out.
Right,
to
so
get
I'm
into
working right now with, not Beth, but I will probably have to come back to you and say, like, we're gonna have to get someone who's an expert in G-Works, which I am not, and obviously Ashley's not. Like, there are a lot of things that have been done incorrectly in the past. And if you've always heard, like, there's numbers that don't make sense and don't balance. And it's super hard to undo, and none of us have time to do that. And so I'm working with a friend not a friend, but a colleague who is great at G-Works. She kind of walked through some things with me about the budget. Cause I just don't do like journal entries and things like that, but it's just super simple things that like get assigned to the wrong places. And so we'll talk about that more at budget time, but we have to fix what we dump into the new system. Because if we put bad information in, you're gonna get bad information right back.
How many accounts do we have that have not been closed out?
Well, some of it you're probably talking about was like that capital stuff,
Right.
when we transfer that money since
Right.
I've been here. So there's things like that. There's also like a lot of the kinds of things where like, there's something called a profit handler. You don't put revenue or expenses against what's called a profit handler. It's just a way that like the system takes your expenses and your revenues in a fund and then just gives you this number. But like, as I'm going through the budget now, like I'm finding things are getting posted to that. So you really have to just start digging into every account. I've got this many reports on my desk where I'm just starting to look at things, finding things that need to get moved. Again, like, you know, when people pay a cemetery plot fee, for example, there's the revenue that goes into the operating fund, and then we have a perpetual care fund that's supposed to stay there. You don't spend it, except you spend the interest. Now, our staff's been told they can't, and things like that. So there's just a lot of things that I think you need someone who's super good at understanding what is and isn't supposed to happen. And so I'm working with her, like she's actually working on it tonight, because there's things that look out of balance and I don't know if they're out of balance, like in the portal. And so she's super great. I can see the things that are wrong. I just don't know how to fix them on the back end because I've never done accounting work. So I can be like, I know that there shouldn't be revenue being posted to a profit handler account. And then somebody, like whether it's creating the list of journal entries to then be able to teach, like Ashley has done journal entries, but somebody to be able to make sure that you're debiting and crediting the right places. Because until we get all that cleared, like, I don't understand how the auditors have always just kind of said, like, it's okay, we've been off. And we're not off, like money's missing. We're just never using like a starting point. And so before we convert, we have to be able to say either we've done as much as we can to fix it, and we're gonna accept that like these numbers are now ground zero. And then going forward, you're always balancing off of correctness. And you just keep perpetuating incorrectness. Like, I don't think, you know, it's been turnover of staff, like people being there a long time, like sinking funds. I feel like you all hear about sinking funds. Sinking funds are not savings accounts, except for water and sewer. And we have sinking funds for everything. We have a park sinking fund, a cemetery.
And that's very confusing.
Yeah, so it's really like we treat them, we, the city here, treat them as what you would call, like a fund balance, reserves, things like that. But we call it sinking fund, and that's like what they did 40 years ago. That's not what you normally do. You normally do it in water and sewer. So we would keep them there.
I'd like to address John's point, though. I think, John, when we get this new system for us as lay people, non-accountants, it's much easier, and I've done this in my past profession, that it's easy for us to look at something and compare the budget with previous years. So when we do the budget, you can see every number and what's gone into it and how much more we're spending from year to year. So it'll be easy for you and us to understand.
Yep.
So the other
If that makes sense to you. I mean, it does to me anyhow, because you can just print it out and say, okay, how much, why are we spending this much more this year? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I believe what you've had in the past was just what they call the portal reports. Like, from at least some of the council members that have talked to me about it, you never saw every single revenue line item or expense, right?
No.
Okay.
You said.
So even without converting, like, we are gonna have a very different process, and I'm not happy that it's taking me this long, but it's super hard.
Sure.
And so what I did, I can't function in G-Works. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't show you the totality of the budget. You just get all these sheets of paper, and like the revenues don't balance it. You can't see them. So what I did was, again, this is where, and we will get a bill for Cindy's time, but I didn't think you wouldn't be supportive of it, and it's not a lot of money, but Cindy, she had done it for me in my last community, but she showed me how to, basically you have to extrapolate all the data out of G-Works year by year by year. So it creates a spreadsheet for you, but nothing totals. So it'll give you that the police department has $1 million in expenses, but it doesn't actually add the numbers up above. And so to create a living, breathing document, you have to take each year, copy it over, and then as account numbers change, like it's super tedious. So I spent 2 days on it, and then I asked her to go through it. And what you'll see, like what I'm gonna bring you, and I think the department heads have started kind of looking at it with me, like just at least showing them what we're gonna do, but I have a 22-page spreadsheet for you. Like that's how many line items there are in our budget of tiny little, like, everybody bring your glasses because it's not easy to read.
Excel spreadsheet.
But you will be able to see, and there really have been some things that weren't done correctly in the past. And so we're gonna have to work through those. I'm trying to come up with solutions of how to do that. I don't think anybody did it on purpose, but it really just shows you that like when people don't understand budgets, even at a staff level, or they're new and just don't know how to do it, like errors can be made. I do want to assure you that I think we can get to the right place, but I can't come to you with that kind of a message and then not know how to help you, give you an idea of fixing it. But it hasn't been done well, and part of it is that system. So we will just be working in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. And then when you're done with that spreadsheet, you put it back into G-Works at the very end. So we'll talk about that when we get to like having a special budget meeting in here in the next couple of weeks. And we'll talk about that, but it is, it's super complicated. And again, like people think this job is easy. It's to understand city budgeting is super difficult, and to know like where to be looking for the ins and the outs and how things balance or how you get to the final numbers is super complicated. And I only can.
Having a system that's archaic at best
Does not help.
does not help. And I know everybody has done the best that they can with what they've had, Susie. I agree. I think
Yes.
that wholeheartedly. You're
Yes.
doing a fine job,
Absolutely.
It's just.
as well as everyone else.
It takes time for any time you change software, and with the numbers not knowing what they are, I mean, it's gonna take time for us to even understand,
Right.
you know, what's, hasn't been done in the past.
Right,
Well, audits will be a lot faster too this way.
and they are starting tomorrow.
Good deal.
The auditors will be here tomorrow morning. So, I can assure you that I will say one thing, even when people don't love me in the towns that I work in, they will tell you that you will learn a lot in my time, because it's super important to me that all of you understand. If that means like one-on-one meetings, like being able to sit and look at a spreadsheet, like I want you, to John's point, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable with what we're spending. But I can only do something first if I get a handle on the whole thing. And you will better understand all the money coming into a city and the money that we spend
So with those auditors coming, that company that's coming in
tomorrow.
tomorrow, can they also help sort this out and get them into the right
Yeah.
files? Okay.
There will be things that but they're not the right answer, to actually like what goes in and out. So just a simple, like, I'll talk to them about like making sure that we're compliant with certain things, because we obviously have limited resources when it comes to the general fund. We have the ability to levy taxes, create, you know, like we have franchise fees, things like that have come in, but there's certain pots of money. Just like someone said, I think, did you say that, Sharon? Like no, Denise said it. Pots of money that can and cannot be spent on certain things. And so, you have pots of money that are super big, and you have pots of money that are super little. And so we need to balance that out and help you understand like what resources you have and how we're gonna spend things. And so, I'm working a lot of hours to try and get my own head around it on top of everything else that's going on. And I think we'll get there, but it's challenging because we need to help you understand, help the staff understand, like everybody's meant well and done their best. It's just, we gotta make sure that people know what's going on. And at the end of the day, it's your budget, so.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We did take a,
We didn't vote.
We didn't vote.
okay, so I've got a
No.
first by Bradley, a second by Bills. Roll call.
Right off.
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley? Yes. Bill?
Yes.
Number 14 is resolution 2025-08. This is the appointment of Lucas Orm to the Planning and Zoning Commission and Faith Smith to the Historic Preservation Commission. Both of those terms expire on January of 27. These are my recommendations to fill. There's 2 positions on planning and zoning, so we still need to find one more person. And we're not sure, we may have another position coming open on the historic preservation, but right now, this will fill that board. So,
I move to approve the resolution.
okay, right off,
Second.
Heidzik.
I'd just like to say that both of those candidates are have good qualifications for both these positions because we need somebody that's involved. I know Lucas is part of the chamber board and he's also involved in housing and so on and so forth. And I know Dave is he will be very well recommended.
Yep, agreed.
Okay. So a first by Fredoff, second by Heidzik, roll call. Heidzik,
Yes.
Hebring,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Fredoff.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 2025-09. This is the approval of the 2025 to 2028 agreement with the Rural Fire Board. This is an agreement, it's a 2080 agreement that we have with the Rural Fire Board. And it was time to renegotiate the upcoming years. In 2025, they were paying us $95. So the next 3 years, they agreed to a 3% increase per year. So we'll go from $95 and $95,000. I'm sorry, did I say $95?
Yeah.
95,000, I'm sorry, to 97,850, 100,785, and 103,809. 9 towns voted to approve the agreement at the meeting, and I think the agreement has been signed by most everybody that was there. And I will say, I also attended that along with Councilman Fredoff and Councilman Heatbrink. That was a very well-run meeting. Thank you to Lisa and Connie Malott. Connie has taken over for Gordon, and they did a fantastic job getting a nice packet out to everybody. They didn't quite know what to do with it. So it was very informative.
Yeah.
And they knew what they were voting on, so.
Yeah, it was quick too.
Thank you again, Lisa, for
Yeah,
all your help on that.
Absolutely.
And it was quick. And thank you to the rural board for all that you did for our meal and everything. So but take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Bills,
I'll second.
Bradley, is there any discussion? Anybody want to say anything other
No,
than?
thanks to Ms.
No, I
Mott.
couldn't say it better. Yeah, it was
Ms.
great.
Mott did a nice job with
Great
the
meeting.
numbers and,
Yeah.
and holding the meeting. She did a
Yeah.
fantastic job.
Good deal. And she will continue to be the chairperson or the coordinator, whatever her title is. So treasurer, there we go.
Treasurer, president, vice president.
Yes, she does all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, roll call. Heatbrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Fredoff.
Yes.
Heidzik.
Yes.
All right, number 16, resolution 2025-10. This is the approval of the GIS map layer for zoning districts with JEO. And Lisa described this, that she has worked with our county assessor to look at how to create a layer on Beacon, since we're using the GIS mapping system that JEO has worked with us on. That's why we're making this recommendation to use JEO for this, so that they can help us make another layer. And I believe that layer will be visible through Beacon, but it'll also be on our map. Is that accurate, Lisa?
So what'll happen once they create it is that we will put a link. So most of our GIS system is not accessible to the public, like they wouldn't be able to see where the water and sewer mains and things like that are. But we would want them to have the ability to see the zoning map. So you can put a link right on there, and then you can allow certain layers, as they call them, certain maps, to be able to be accessible to the public. So if a realtor or bankers or anybody like that wanted to know what the zoning is, they'd be able to go right to our website and see the map.
So this is gonna cost us $5,500 just to have them draw some lines on a map?
No, they have to put in every single, all 2,600 parcels, and they have to specifically tag each zone in every parcel.
I would guess something like that is no small feat.
No, and another little tidbit, I have good news.
Yeah.
So in this proposal, I saw that they said, if you look on page 59, under the assumptions, it says that there's no more than 50 zoning amendments since 2016. So yesterday, in my lovely time at City Hall on Sunday, I went through all the ordinances from 2014 to current, because there's some references on the map to 14, so I want to make sure that we do. We only have 11 new changes to the zoning map since then, and so I emailed them last night and said, hey, this is nowhere near 50, it's 11. what would you like to discount it? And so I saved us $500 yesterday by counting the 11 minutes. And so now it will be a $5,000 fee. And the other thing that they will add to our map at no additional cost, even though the layer is there, like when you go online, you can see the floodplain map. They will add the floodplain map at no additional cost to our GIS system.
Perfect.
So again, they have to take all 2,600 parcels, to your point, Brian, in the Beacon system, just like when you go on Beacon and you click somebody's house, they have to go on every one of those 2,600 times and click, is it R1, R2, C1, C2, C3, M1, M2, whatever it is. And then it'll be a super, and what's nice about it, when you link it to Beacon, at least in the other communities that I worked in, you're on our map and then it's layered to Beacon. So when you're on the map for zoning, you can then click further along and be able to bring up the Beacon sites. You can see who owns it, various things like that. So it'll be a super useful tool. It is not helpful to have a map that's old and then you start looking at things. You can't, the only way that I can even look at this thing is I have to save it as a PDF on the computer. And then I have to go to Beacon and figure out exactly which parcel is the one I'm looking at. So I have to go like, oh, I'm at the corner of 2nd and Joy. And then I'm 3 houses between 2nd and 3rd. And then I have to go to this very stagnant PDF map and like zoom in and make sure I'm between the right streets. Like it's super not helpful.
And our guys can have this on a tablet.
Yes. But the public
But
can
the
see it
public
too.
will be able to see
Yeah.
it too.
So what would be the timeline and how long?
I don't think they said.
I don't think it's specified.
And will we need to
I don't think we
update this resolution to be 5,000 instead of 5,500?
Yeah, you would have amended the
So anyone who's making a motion would need to amend it to 5,000 instead of 5,500.
And as you can see, we'd also have 3 big, large printed maps. So whether we
That'll be
hang one in the
nice.
office, whatever it is.
That'll be really nice.
I would move to approve resolution 2025-10 with the amendment to $5,000.
Okay, right off
I'll second it.
and heat break. Any further discussion? This is great work too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Roll call. Bradley?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Right off?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Heat break.
Yes.
Getting close, guys. Number 17, resolution 2025-11. This is the approval of the amendment to our rental free structure for duplexes to be $100 per unit. And single houses are still, 145. Yep. So do you want to explain how that's different than what we had before?
Yeah, I should have probably put the whole resolution in here, but, the old resolution said multifamily units, $100 each. And then in parentheses, we had apartments.
Mhm.
So then we had to have a debate with one of the landowners who did not want to pay, like, so they're really like, it's not clear. Like, to me, a duplex is a multifamily unit. You used an example in parentheses, but we didn't put that. So the owner argued either she was only gonna pay $100. Well, so like if it's single family, it's 145 and you have 2 units. So good point. I'll come on Monday and ask the council to clarify it.
Well, I kind of have a problem with it. The units that we're building.
Mhm.
Now, that's all gonna be rentals, correct?
Yeah.
I can see that, but now if you sell a duplex, that's owner occupied, correct?
And you wouldn't.
Yeah,
Then
then
it
it would be
no
separate.
longer.
Right,
Single family.
so.
Again, I think the point of saying that, like, the reason it's lower when it's multifamily is you're condensed, right? So you're just going from place to place to place. You're gonna go through them all at the same time, like the fees that we're gonna get charged from SWIPCO. But the reason it's 2 units in a duplex is there's 2 kitchens, there's 2 houses worth of bathrooms, there's double the bedrooms, like it is twice the work, but because of the efficiency of being in one location,
Structure.
we lower it from the 145 to 100.
But that's if it's done at the same time.
Yeah, but it wouldn't.
I mean, if they go out at different times for different units, it should be the single unit price, I would think.
It doesn't say that.
Oh, well, it should.
That's what I'm getting at, what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, if I have a duplex and you have to come out one day and expect one unit and come out another day and expect another, I would think that would be 145 each.
Right.
Personally.
We
what I'm
will
getting
get
at.
charged.
Yeah.
If you want to
Yeah.
stay on here, then like before we finish this, we could say, you know, $100 per unit. And then however we want to word it, something that says like if inspected at the same time.
Well, if you're doing multiple inspections at one location, then I can see the $100 per unit, but if you have to go
If you
to a
can't-
fiveplex
you
and
can't
do
make
one,
an
ins-
appointment for one at one time, then
Yeah.
you should charge.
Yeah, if
for
it's
that.
gonna be-
We will get charged
It's
more.
gonna be
Yeah.
separate
Yeah.
inspections,
Yeah.
then yes, I would see
We've,
that.
we've had this before where a person buys a duplex, they live on one side and they rent out the other side.
That's
That's a
again why we
different
want to
issue.
say
That's a
one
different
hundred.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like if I'm
Yeah, I get
a
where-
property owner and I have a threeplex or fourplex and I have an inspector out to inspect one of those, it should cost me $145, not $100, because he's not doing all three of them or two of them or four of them at the same time. That's why we give the discount, so you can do more work without moving around.
But you're saying if they are doing all four at a time,
Then it's $100.
then it's $100.
Yeah.
So to your point, I didn't see what you were saying, like if there's
Yeah.
only one of the two to inspect, because the
Right.
person lives there, then we're only doing one and it is 145. So
Yes.
if that's what we're saying, like, we'll say, I say we just clearly state it, then we'll
Mhm.
say if a duplex has an owner occupied on one and a single on the other, we're only inspecting a single in that unit, and so it's 145. And then we can say the 100 only applies to all units being inspected in the same visit.
Right.
Yes.
Perfect.
Or multiple units. So if I had a fiveplex, I could have two of them inspected for $200.
Right.
Correct?
It has to be multiples.
Yeah, multiple.
Yep.
And then we can say like, I can amend it. I'll write it as you are stating, but we can say, because of the efficiencies. That's why we're paying less to switch.
Right, right.
And I'm sure they're gonna try to schedule those together, just because that's what they're gonna wanna try to do, but in the event it doesn't happen, I can see. So,
And we have had super great last couple of weeks. I think we probably have $10,000 right now of people that have paid their inspection fees and got
Yay.
scheduled, including some of the landlords that people spoke about that were never compliant.
excellent.
We won't name them here,
That's
but like
good.
people came in, we worked through it with people, and the plan is that this week, whenever we get a chance to make sure we've gone through the whole list, whoever did not turn theirs in, the police chief Justin has been willing to, if they're in town, we're just gonna have the police department serve them with a letter that they're now out of compliance instead of snail mailing and paying for certified mail, things like that. If we have to mail it, we'll mail it. But reminding them that they're now past the deadline and that we have the $500 a day. I think all of us that listen to their landlords, their biggest beef, more than obviously they just don't want to do it if that was their position, but it was because we weren't consistent. The good guys came in and did it, and we kind of ignored people who didn't. And so those that have come in, I've assured them that is not the way we're gonna move forward. And so that to me is the next step. And then probably by the end of February, if people have ignored us, then we'll start talking about the
Yeah,
penalty.
and I look at this as, one, we're making step penalties, but two, they understand that there might be some incentives if they follow the rules.
Mhm.
And the incentive package that we've been kind of looking at,
Well, especially those that have had renters for a
long
number of
time.
years.
Well, they've met with the
And then
inspectors
they're compliant.
and they're compliant
exactly.
and they've done the work.
You're talking about by extending the frequencies we're gonna.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the people that were here for the meeting that night, they had several of them that had renters that had been there for a number of years and had no problems.
I said that like, we have to get through the first cycle.
Mhm.
And what that means is everybody's
All
gotta go
three.
through it the first time. I said,
3 years.
at least this
Yeah,
council,
3 years.
I would think there's no reason, and I would not have a problem recommending that if we get through that cycle, that we would say something like, if you have a small list of violations and you are the same owner, that we can consider some sort of an extension. Like, we're not here to be difficult. If we did an extension, it would only be aligned to the current owner. So if it gets sold and it's somebody else, like
Starts over.
the new landlord does not get the extension, then it starts over. People, we've had some difficult conversations, but I feel like, another interesting fact, the city of Glenwood, the police captain called me today and wanted to know all about our program because Glenwood is doing the same. And so, sometimes we're following what a lot of people do and sometimes we're ahead of the game, and people are noticing that we're doing it. And we spoke, I said that we're getting success. kind of gave him a couple suggestions about things that we can tweak. I'll think we'll, maybe tweak a few things as we proceed with the codification, things like defining what a rental is. We don't care if you exchange money, for example. It's just if you don't live there. Some of the things that we can tweak. There was another thing in the code that someone had a healthy debate with me in the lobby the other day, that it says that it has to be paid once your appointment is scheduled. Well, right now, we make you bring in the application, pay us, and then we schedule. I'm like, you got it. If you want to come in tomorrow, we're gonna have them call you today. So then you can bring him back in tomorrow, or you can just pay today. So he paid. But it's things like that, when people don't love something and they're reading all the fine print. Yeah, fair enough. So I said, you got us, like, go ahead. You can turn in your application and we'll call you tomorrow.
But the fact that we have some folks that were non-compliant, complying now is huge.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And there are other communities wanting to follow our program.
That's great.
Yeah.
So-
And I want you to know, like, I'm trying to be reasonable too, like the one landlord that I think a lot of people speak of. They came in, they had like 5 properties that are under construction. I said, well, if you're under construction, you're not renting it out and you don't need a permit if you're not renting it out. So I said, to make sure that no one says you've ignored us, I want you to fill out the form and say that it's under construction and that you understand that when you are done and you're about to rent it out, then you're gonna come in and pay your fee then, and you're off the list for now. But I want you to turn it in so that you are speaking to us about the parcel and saying that. The other great thing about the utility billing system is that we'll be able to create a layer in there that tags you as a rental, and then we can say, like, it will pop up like, hey, we need to remind this new person, new tenant, new landlord owner person, like, you need a rental inspection, and tie those things together instead of we're all just kind of in silos. We have this pile of landlord stuff and this, things like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like, it's painful when you start the process, but I do think that it will be a positive experience. Everyone that's met with Phil has said it has been not unpleasant, that he's been reasonable. Most of the things, and maybe people turn in their properties that are compliant or more, nicer, but nobody's had a serious list of violations. And they've been minor enough that he's said, look, I trust you to fix it and get it done, and I'm not gonna come back.
Great.
So it'll be.
So if we would take a motion, we will need to amend some of the verbiage like you spelled out.
Yep, so we'll have that the amendment would include that, clarifying that the $100 is only on a multi-unit when multiple units are inspected at the same time. That if there is a duplex where one is owner occupied and one is a single inspection, that you would still pay the $145.
I'll make the motion with those changes in mind.
Okay. Bills,
I'll second it.
Heat Brink. Any further discussion? Awesome work. Thank you. Roll call.
Bills,
Yes.
right off,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Capri,
Yes.
Bradley. Yes.
I want to throw, it's kind of late, but I want to throw out there that, when this initiative first came to the council, I wasn't part of the council, it was before my time, but I remember it was a hot topic, it was very controversial, nobody wanted it done. But I mean, it has visibly improved the inventory of our rental homes in the city. So, as painful as it has been up to now, it's definitely been forward motion.
And that is also a part of our visible appearance stuff. So I'm trying to find this, you guys. So number
Well, I
18,
think the biggest thing is the safety also, the safety of the tenants themselves.
All the
Because
above,
there
yeah.
are things that landlords do not, that neglect, and this is one thing to keep them compliant. That's all I'm saying.
Well, when I think in my head of it, I'm like, rail inspection, try getting inspected for foster care. They really go through you with a fine tooth comb, so I would have taken a rail inspection over that.
Right.
all right, number 18 is discussion on Housing Iowa award application. And I didn't print off what I needed to talk about.
Moving on.
So basically, no, it's one of these things where I feel that we should be applying. There's different categories, and that's what I can't tell you right at the moment.
First of all, it's not due till May, so why don't we just table it?
Okay, we'll table it then. All right, thank you. But be
right?
thinking about it.
I saw that it wasn't due till May.
Because I think that the state is impressed with how many housing initiatives we have moving forward, and I think now would be the time to apply for it. And then the downtown housing conference is later this fall in September.
So does this go through Debbie Durham's office?
Yes, this is IDA and IFA. It's actually IFA, and they just awarded $55,000 for this program, so. I think we should
We'll
put in an
on the next
application.
agenda.
Yeah, and I've told Lisa she doesn't have to do the application, I can help, so.
Thanks.
Number 19, department reports. We had great reports from Chris Bayard and Clint Roland. Chris, do you want to come forward? And looks like we had there was something that was exciting, I thought. The LED lights in the downtown, which is going to brighten everything up. You started doing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll just start kind of highlight it. One of the big things, I guess I started out with good news, was our building is actually nearing completion on the outside of the building from the tornado. They've got the new roof on the all put on, the new steel. The west end that was totally destroyed was taken down, totally all put back up. We actually have overhead doors in our building again and openers on them. And we're waiting mainly on the interior would be the electrical wiring and the plumbing, and we have one furnace to install. So that's really nice to have a building back that we can heat and stuff, so. I guess another big thing we've been working on with Ashley and myself and Clint is working with FEMA to fill out the paperwork and try to get back some of our deductibles. And we had a lot of street damage on Oak Street, 7th and Oak during that storm, and if possible, we might go get some of the money back to fix that particular spot in the street through FEMA, we're hoping. Takes a lot of effort and time to fill out a lot of different reports, but we're gaining weekly meetings. Guess we continue to work with the other departments on different things with the cemetery and the utility department. The street lights down on the square, we started with the east side because we had a couple out there. We're converting them all to LED. They're extremely bright. I guess I knew we'd have one or two. We've had one minor complaint, but on the brightness, but we're planning on, I think there's 67 or 8 lights all the way around the square area. And I believe the price was $10 through the rebates and everything. So basically all we're gonna have is the installation of the electrician.
And that should save us a ton of money.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that will make a lot of difference. So, but I guess one of the fun things we did here lately, we were asked by Head Start Preschool to come up and bring some equipment and kind of talk about our jobs and stuff. And at first I'm like, oh, I'm a little 5-year-old. So I kind of prepared and thought about a few things to talk to them about. Well, that was a waste of time. We drove the truck up and the loader and the snowplow and parked out there, and
Love that.
about 30 seconds in to try and tell them what we do, one kid took off and they were all headed, so they split off. I don't know who had more fun, the guys, my guys, or the kids, but it was a neat day. The kids really enjoyed seeing those trucks. I'm sure the people in the community enjoyed the air horn, so.
Excellent.
Got a little loud for a while, but we've already got arrangements. We're gonna take a sweeper up in the spring.
Excellent.
So that kind of stuff.
Yeah, fun.
It's
I'm
good.
sure kids love that.
Yeah, so that was fun. So, I did get an asphalt some stuff done last fall there right before the cold. I guess actually it was late November. We did a few things on a few of the patching in the streets. We got some more to do this spring. Bluegrass Road is one that gets talked about a lot. I get some phone calls on that, but the railroad has agreed to do 100% repair on that all the way to the viaduct. And they called the other day just to get an update on how we were doing on that. So, that'll be nice to get that repaired.
We're just gonna do it and they're gonna pay for it. Is that it?
They're gonna be billed direct. That way where the city's not involved. So
Excellent.
That's the best way.
Awesome.
What I
Great
felt.
job.
So I guess going with that, we've been repairing some potholes on a few warm days and been getting some new signs and stuff put up on some of the ones that are faded off. So that's about what we've been doing. So
Excellent.
haven't had to deal too much, knock on wood, with snow. So
Chris, do you have a rough idea what the discrepancy is between our insurance and what actual expenses are? Or I guess that's probably a better question for Lisa.
you mean like on deductible? 2,500 are a big bill.
That's it?
And that's, I think it's 2,500.
I got a question about the FEMA. my understanding is we have to put everything back to like as a whole, like it was before, in order to get any type of FEMA money. Am I correct on that? So if we wanted to do like an upgrade, that would be out of the.
Well,
Is there
actually,
one thing that
There
we might,
are. Yeah, if I could jump in here. So with FEMA, so one of the things that we explored, we had our on-site visit January 9th. We had, I think, about 6 individuals from FEMA and different organizations come and tour the buildings that were damaged by the tornado. And one of the things we did explore with them was mitigation measures. So that would be if there was a safe area for employees to go into within the building. So if that safe area is built within the already standing structure, then that would be covered. Of course, if it's something that's outside of those already standing walls, then it wouldn't be covered by FEMA.
Are we getting a hardened area in there, Chris?
I don't know if we're gonna build it up within the building, you know, where the building's already structurally built, but we're talking about getting one outside. And I believe the state FEMA did say there was some funding available for a
You know, after that last
above
storm,
ground.
yeah, if that last
I
storm
want-
would be a good idea.
Yes, I definitely want something. I don't want anybody to have to go through that again, so. But,
Those FEMA folks were from all over the country.
They were
weren't they?
very-
Everywhere. Yeah,
Really neat
crazy.
people. I spent, I think, 6 or 7 hours. We started in the morning and then they were from all over the country and very interesting, very good people to deal with. So.
Yeah. And the process is very thorough. There's a lot of documentation that you do need to submit. So we started this process back end of October and we just submitted one of our first official documents to FEMA, January 12th. So we're on to our next chunk of documents that we have to submit to them. So it is a lengthy process. You know, they want to make sure we're all doing our due diligence and making sure we are submitting, you know, the correct information and all of that. But yeah, we meet weekly with them. So we do have, you know, we do have a project assistant manager with FEMA that kind of walks us through the process, which is really helpful.
2 phases of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Great job. Thank you, Chris, for all you guys do. Appreciate it. Yes. Mr. Rowland.
You get started with that and we'll have to do it every time, you know?
All right, if you notice in the pack, I sent out a couple of big things in there. One's our sanitary sewer. I'll go over that a little bit and then just kind of some knowledge-based stuff on the wastewater side, kind of our frequency and why we test, when we test, what the DNR requires for, what our limits are, and some slides with that. So, first, I just kind of want to thank everyone from the other staff and, you know, council and everybody that's kind of helped us in our transition this year, kind of combining both the utilities together to be one department. It's taken a lot of people to get that done. It's gone off pretty good. I think one of the best things I think that's happened right now is on the water and the wastewater side, we're not where we want to be yet, but we're starting to take a proactive approach at getting to things instead of always being a reactionary way. We still react to a lot of things right now, but we're starting that. We're starting to get some of that approach. We're getting a little proactive on stuff. You know, so with the utility departments, both departments are completely cross-trained as far as weekend time right now. So in September, we went from having 2 people on call Saturday and Sunday, which is 16 hours of comp time that was spent. We've cut that in half to 8. So one person now does both utilities under the same time. So we're actually saving about 8 hours of comp time a weekend throughout the rest of the year, and it'll stay that way. You know, Harry's been training with Aaron on the lab stuff and the wastewater, and Aaron vice versa has been training with Harry on the well. So we're getting some redundancy in people. So if someone's on vacation or whatever, we have someone that feels like they're kind of an expert in that field on that stuff. Ryan's really been working with Scott and myself, learning the mechanical process of the wastewater plant and getting in on there. So trying to give him a little bit more knowledge of what's going on. So we're trying to kind of build some experts in each part of the area, and then we'll branch that training out to everybody else too. So Scott and Ryan together are putting together a comprehensive sewer maintenance plan. Something we really haven't done proactively in this town is going after and attacking our sewers and making sure they're clean. We've had to react. And by doing that, we're coming together with a plan. So they're going to get down. So we're going to make sure we're attacking that sewer and cleaning the sewer in a timely manner and staying up on it. So hopefully sometime in the future, we can get to the point we can do some CCTV inspections of them and really know how our sewers are sitting. Todd and Sean, with help of myself and Donna, are kind of putting together a plan right now to get a letter out to all the people who still have census meters. So we can get all those finally out, and we can get rid of the census side of our meter reading system, because right now we're reading off 2 different systems. That'll save us some money in the long run. We won't be paying a subscription to one of those companies. It's just getting into some of those houses and getting the meters changed out. It's kind of something that should have happened when we went over to Badger, and a handful of them, I'm guessing in the 60s, I'm thinking right now are really need to get done. So trying to work out, getting a letter with them, just schedule time we can get in and work with them and get those meters switched out so we can finally get away from the census.
So we're gonna quit
Great.
paying census altogether then?
Eventually, once we get those meters out.
That's like 10 grand a year, I think.
Yeah, so we're hoping to save some money there. One good thing, the team has really been taking some extra time outside of work and diving into their education on things. They're putting some extra work in. Every day they come in and they kind of talk, hey, I read this today about this and all like that. So we've developed a culture that education is a good thing. We want to learn more about our process and get there instead of just coming to work every day and just doing our jobs. We want to know why we're doing our jobs and we want to get better educated for it. So, on the wastewater side, Scott's preparing to take his grade 2 exam here in the next month. Aaron's going to be testing again for us. Harry, as of Thursday, will be taking his wastewater 1 exam. So he's taking his education a little farther. On the wastewater side, we've had some issues over the last few months. Clarifier 4 had an electrical malfunction. We lost all the controls to it. We had to hotwire that system for a little while just to get clarifier to turn. Problem is the contactors and all that, everything's from 1985. They don't make those components anymore. So we've had to figure out ways to make it work. We bought some new computer boards to go in and things like that. It costs more than plug and play. We just can't plug and play anymore. The roughing filter, the transducer failed on that. So we got a new transducer, which is a lot better system. We had to have electric pump come down and do that. We had to bypass the transducer. We had to lie to the computer pretty much until it had water in the wet well, because when the transducer goes out, it says the wet well's got 0. So as a safety mechanic, it shuts the pumps down so the pumps don't hurt itself. But we had to lie to the computer until it had water, because we knew it had water, but the transducer was there. So we bypassed that, had to run it manually. We had to go out and check every hour, make sure we're not pumping our wet well down to burn, or we'd burn a pump up. Didn't have any problems, but it took a couple days, got the transducer and got it rewired. She's been running famously since then. Sludge thickener, same thing. Contactors went out in that. We've had an old contactor we'd saved. So we got to put it in there and get it running again, but it was about 3/4 burnt. So I've got parts on order for that one too. So we're running on old parts that we had laying around. Thank gosh, keep it going. Stack tower motor controls have failed. And this is all stuff to be expected. We all knew. That's why before there was a plan together, looking at our wastewater plant, it's old. Parts are just getting there. It's time. We're just going to have to keep doing it. It's some kind of neat challenges at times too. The guys are learning some stuff about the plant that you normally might take advantage of and take for granted because you don't have to deal with it. Now we have to deal with it. So I take it as a challenge for myself to help educate a little farther. Sometimes on the fly it's a little tough, but yeah, our float controls went out in the pre-treatment building. We wired in a couple new floats. As of right now, they seem to be working. The biggest issue right now I'm seeing is our jet truck went down 3 weeks ago. And there was a lot of little tiny things on it that were wrong when I came in. They didn't stop it from working. We were scheduling some maintenance coming up in the fall to get stuff done, and they decided to shut down. Right now, we're sitting about $25,000 just to fix it. The conch valves went out of it. It's just a lot of yearly maintenance that was missed for a long time. It just wasn't taken care of the way it should have, and it's come back to bite us a little bit. But I talked to them this morning. They're looking still about 2 weeks before we get it back. We're still waiting on parts. So it's 5 weeks out. In that, we've had 3 sewer backups, and I've had to hire a contractor to come in and jet those for us. And I do have 2 guys on speed dial, and they know. So it's a text of 911 to them. They know it, and they're on their way down here. So
what's the replacement cost on that truck?
if we buy that truck right now, $500,000 to $600,000, and it's 2 years out. If you bought it today, it's gonna be 2 years before you take it.
This 25 grand we're spending on is gonna get it tip top
Yeah,
again.
this 25,000 should get us to where this truck should be running good, and we stay up to the yearly maintenance on it. We're gonna be good for a few years. like I say, yeah, I've said it since I started, that's a conversation we gotta start having at some point to figure out when we're gonna replace that truck. That truck is running daily. It runs forever. You know, we beat the crap out of that truck and it does a lot of good stuff, but it's a vital piece.
When do we purchase that, do you know?
2016, I think, 15 or 16 is when it went. So it's 10. It's right at that time to start looking. If you want the best bang for your buck when you trade them back in. But yeah, it's, but they're 2 years out. So I mean, it's.
Speaking of purchasing, have you done any more investigation into a camera trailer or any kind of?
Well,
device?
that was next on my list.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder, sorry.
No, you're fine. The city of Oskaloosa just bought a brand new IVAC system. From the company used to be called Mid Iowa, they're called Armor Equipment now. They're out of Ankeny. I've done a bunch of business with them. They happened to call me and said, hey, I know you guys have been kind of looking. So they have a 2015 EnviroSight camera system in a trailer, not in a van, but in a trailer. It's the exact same camera system I had up in Atlantic. Everything's the same about it, except for it's in a trailer. That trailer is probably 140 to 160 brand new. They're looking right now, it's 41,500 to buy that trailer. With everything in it, all the components to do everything, do our own CCTV.
So I know that this last year we budgeted for a ditch witch potholer that we never purchased. Can we get that purchase made before
That's what I was
funding
kind of
goes out?
talking about. I'm going to head Thursday to inspect it. They sent me a nice little quoting on it right here. And since I've dealt with them for a long time, Tim's been really nice. So in his quote, he put 2015 EnviroSight trailer, fully furnished with camera, reel, controller, computer, and various wheel sets, as is, no warranty. This signed order will hold the unit for the city of Red Oak through the inspection and approval by the city council. And they have the right to refuse this unit after inspection or any other funding issues.
Nice.
But they will not even allow this to be out in the market until we turn it down. So
Nice.
they're holding it for us to come at least look at it so we have a chance. Because as we've spoke before, when these pop up on the market, they're gone within days.
So-
Like this, it wasn't even on the market yet and I'm already going to inspect it. So
So all this said, I mean, realistically, what kind of maintenance are we looking at on a used unit as opposed to a new unit?
depending on where the unit comes from, you could expect 1,500 to 2,000 a year to do on a used. The great thing is Oskaloosa, while in the purchasing process, had their whole tractor and unit gone through. So they have gone through and rebuilt everything. So we're looking at something that's probably less than $500 to $600 a year extra right now for the first 5 to 6 years. I mean, there's always wear parts and.
And you're gonna have maintenance on a new unit too.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna have 500-600 on the new unit too, except for some of that maintenance is covered under warranties, you know, for first couple of years, but, it's a way for us to get in the game and see stuff. We're lucky we had Atlantic come down and let us borrow their camera van one day. We had a spot up on Division Street. The old reports say we've had problems there for about 10 years. They have struggled never getting all the way to the top, so they've jetted it both ways to clear it up and all that. Chris and I looked at it really fun. It looked like there's a sinking spot in the street. When I looked at it with the camera, it kind of looked like maybe the pipe was collapsed. So we dug that spot up and we found a root ball that was 8 foot long, 8 inches in diameter and had been there. So that's years that it's been there. We had to physically pull it out. We pulled it out with a hoe. It was in there that bad and put a 10-foot chunk of pipe back down in there and now we can jet all the way to the top. So we have issues like that. I know all over town. We can't see them, so you don't know what's there.
So we need this camera, but I guess getting back to my initial question is, I mean, we do in fact have that money in the budget to make this purchase, correct? Because we didn't
Yes.
spend it?
Yes.
That's what I thought, okay.
Yes, yeah, there's money there, so.
And Ryan is also
Yes,
equipped
Ryan
at
is
being able to,
CCT certified.
so that's
He
awesome.
can do, this is what he was trained to do for 7 years out in Colorado. He ran those things.
Yeah.
So as of right now, no, but just like our new addition up there, when they had to do all the sewer testing up there, Ryan certified that for that. So if we had this piece of equipment, we wouldn't have had to pay back, you know, or Barcon to do that. We could have done that testing ourselves because he's certified in everything like that. So,
Excellent.
you know, it's something in the future, maybe we do as long as our equipment's up to grade and stuff like that. It's gotta be inspected, but there's just little stuff like that. So, yeah, and then, you know, one of the other things I just kind of want to hit on is, you know, I did that sanitary survey report I put in there. Just want to highlight on there. they came out to do the sanitary survey, and this is the first one Jade had ever done. So Jade was out there training with the DNR. I've gone through training with the DNR before. You know, they're very by the book when they do it. I mean, they haven't been in the business long enough. They haven't done, so they're gonna follow everything. And so if everything, just little things off, they're gonna write us up for something. Most times minimal. We came through that with no deficiencies whatsoever. Jade was trying to find something, because he has to put something in his report. So his DNR works. There's something has to be. He was trying to, and he couldn't find one. So, it shows the love and the care that Harry puts into those wells and what he does with them. Batten's gonna, gotta think who it is now. We got Viking coming too this spring. Viking's we're gonna drop our tower. We have to do that, to clean the inside of the tower, but we have some drives that have to go out to our well, so we can do direct drive pressure to the system. So we can keep everybody with water while the tower's out of service. So, we got that coming up in spring. We already have the drive. It was purchased a long time ago. We just gotta wire it in.
And how long is it gonna take him to get it to where we're on those drives like that?
We will completely be on those drives as soon as we get the electrician here in like March.
No, but I mean, how long will, when they drain the tower down, how long?
Probably 72 hours.
Okay, so 3 days we'll just be on those drives then.
Yeah, they say 48, so I'm expecting another day. So, we're gonna do a trial run, because no one in here's ever dropped that tower completely like this. So I got raw water coming, and a few other guys are gonna put some, pressure reducing valves in areas, and we're gonna drop the tower. We'll coordinate with everybody, let them know, especially talk to our radio and everybody, say, hey, this is the day, so if you notice a little pressure difference, this is what's going on. We're gonna drop it with the ability to fill it right away. Don't know when that day is gonna be. We kind of want in the spring when it's warmed up a little better, just in case we have problems, it's easier to work on. But we will do a temporary run on that and then bring it back up, so then the day of when it's ready to go, everybody knows their job, knows what's going on, and we'll drop it. We will probably put some overtime in on those days, because we're gonna have to have some people on standby just all night long, those 3 days, just kind of running shifts. We might just figure it out into shifts, so we don't really get overtime, but or something like that, but it's never been done, so we just want to be prepared. So that's pretty much what I got for you guys, so.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Just looking at your graph here,
Mhm.
that you put in here about the ammonia and nitrogen.
Ammonia. Yep.
Why did we have such a spike in October?
That's when a lot of our electrical problems.
That's
came
what I
down,
was
so-
wondering. So go,
Yep.
that's what caused that spike
Yep,
was the.
that's what
the
that spike
electrical?
happened, so,
Okay,
yeah, when those transducers go down, when the motors go down and we stop treating for a little while, that's what happens, so.
okay. That's what I was wanting to make sense.
So yeah, it's a huge spike. So on that one, on a daily, if you would just look at it daily, it was over what they say you can have daily. Happens all the time, but you get a 30-day average too. The DNR gives you 2 requirements, because they know every once in a while there's a day that something's gonna happen. When we came back to our 30-day average, we were well under our ammonium nitrate, but on that day, we were well over it.
What page are you on at?
That
It's
is
a-
on
it's
page
the color.
72, 71, 72, and 73.
There you go, right there, those two.
Oh, yeah, I see it, yeah.
It's pretty easy to see.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Yeah, I got it, I got
It
it.
jumped up there.
I just didn't know what page
I
you were
just
on.
wanted to know if that was dealing with the
Yeah.
electrical there.
Yeah, same thing, when all that happened, same things happen. And our system, as that goes on, your pseudoeleal mass starts to dry and it sloughs off, which creates more TSS. So on that same day, if you look, the TSS result went up too. Because we
Right.
put more in the river, but our pounds per day over a 30-day average was still under what we needed. Barely, we made the limit, just barely we snuck in, but, you know, they're understanding. The thing is, we called the DNR right away and said, this is what's going on. This is what I'm fighting through. So Christy knew, and then I called her back, say, hey, we're back up and running. So they know over those couple days, things are gonna go on. And it's just another thing with the DNR, EPA, stay in contact with them and talk to them. And you don't have really any issues. So, it's just when you try to hide stuff from them, and we don't try to hide anything from them, so.
Quick question. So with our wastewater treatment plant upgrade, we're trying to find financing now, knowing that construction is not gonna be probably until 27.
Yeah, if you sign the document today, it'd be 27.
Are we going to be okay with some of the equipment that we know is very close to
We're
expiration
gonna have
date?
to, we're gonna have to say we're okay with it. And just know that there's gonna be a point where something could fail and we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and fix it the best way possible. So, there is a lot of used stuff out there that we can get a hold of that, you know, it's good for 5 or 6 years. So if we pop a used pump in, we know it's not as good as a brand new one, but the cost is down. We know we're probably not gonna use that pump. Now, if it's a pump that's gonna be reused in in the future build, then yeah, we would go ahead with maybe a new one at that point, but that's something that we would probably come back and address. The good thing is all plants are built with some redundancy in them, so if I lose a pump, I can't wait a long time, because you never know if the second one's gonna go down, but we have some redundancy, so, it's just some oddball things when some electrical components go out where you lose your redundancy, and that happened to us a couple times over the last few months, but we were back up within hours, so, it wasn't something that went long, so.
So we provide water to Corinda too? Does it here?
The rural
On
water.
this report, in addition to providing water, is it better?
Well, we
That's-
don't, I think they
that's the
wrote that wrong, so
Yeah.
it's
Because
through
I've never
Iowa
seen
Rural
it,
Water,
I
we
don't
supply
know.
It's rural
them,
water.
and they can supply back to
So
Corinth, so
that's-
technically we could. But
Yeah, but that's wrong, then. They should take that, because it ends that and it doesn't continue, so
Yeah.
I just an FYI.
Oh, yeah, that's their sanitary's report, so, oh, and if it does come out, because it's on the site right now, that's gonna change, we did get a letter of non-compliance, on the water side. And we made a phone call on that, and the DNR said, oops, sorry, that's our mistake, so it was kind of nice, but it is popped up on their site right now, but yeah, it's their mistake, we were supposed to get a brand new waste or water permit. So as of January, there's some new testing that we had to do. Well, they forgot to file our permit. They never gave us our permit. So it popped up in the computer that we weren't running the new permit, but yeah, we haven't been given it yet. So, so it's supposed to be off the website today, but as of today, it shows that there's a non-compliance in Red Oak, but it's not us. So,
Good.
that made Harry feel really good because that'd be the first non-compliance he's ever seen. And he was sweating it going, it was kind of funny though.
He takes that stuff kind of personal.
He does. and that's
Very
what's good.
personal, yes.
That's what's really good about
That's
it.
awesome.
It's his baby, the wells are his baby, he really cares, so,
Yep.
it's a good thing, and that everyone else in the department's taken over kind of that attitude towards it too, they don't wanna let him down either, so, it's been really good, so.
Great report. Both you and Chris, appreciate your time putting that together. Appreciate your teams working so well together too. That's awesome. And I think hopefully everyone in the crowd is hearing that we are very good at being proactive now and trying to work ahead instead of behind. And it's unfortunate that the majority of people left that don't realize all these other things that we have going on that we're doing very well. So I just had to make that point. Because we have done some really great things, both this council and the council before, and I feel very privileged to have had the opportunity to work with you guys on all of this stuff. So, and now we've got Lisa who can keep us up and keep us moving forward, get us into the 21st century. So, all right, Lisa. Administrative report.
Couple things, if anybody's interested in the hotel motel, the grant applications are open, they're due on February 28th, that's all on our website. So anybody that's looking, any organizations out there that usually or would be interested in that, it's February 28th that it's due. The police department, we've had some concerns from people about the traffic on 8th Street, you know, kind of connected to the school, people's speed. The chief was agreeable to have patrol out there. You know, people sometimes have a perception about how fast they're going. Ironically, when I was on my way Friday to the radio station, I decided to go up 8th Street. And as I turned onto 8th Street, there was someone pulled over at 6:55 in the morning. And so there was that, but one of the officers did, I think it was 80 times they clocked people with their radar and they were going an average of 24.87 miles an hour. So people have that perception of speed a lot of times, but they are making an effort out there. And so we appreciate that. I think, again, when people have complaints about it, it's just nice that people see our presence. And I appreciate the chief's willingness to send staff out there and do that. So we did that. And the citizen who came in to talk to me about it, who kind of gave us the old nobody ever listens. I got his email and had let him know that the chief was going to have that done, and I got a nice email back saying thank you. He had seen our presence, and so hopefully people know that we do try to address it. We can't be there all the time, but we did that. We had the fire on Market Street that has been problematic. We need that to be demolished. I've met with the owners and confirmed with the contractor that'll be demoing it. The last piece is to get the gas removed, and that'll be done hopefully. Mid-American said that they would do it this week, and so as soon as that is disconnected, that fire damaged house will be down, and so that'll be an improvement for the neighborhood. The audit, as I said, starts tomorrow. They'll be here for 2 days in person. Lots of people on their staff at Bergen KDV, also work on it remotely. So everybody has like a portal. There's lots of reports we have to submit, and then they'll be here for 2 days. The floodplain that we like to talk about, we had a business who sent in a building permit, looking to spend about $60,000 to remodel. The magic number was about $50,000 that would keep them under the significant improvement threshold where they would have to do that. So between SWPCO and myself, SWPCO responded to me with the information, and then I communicated back to the contractor that if they either had to get an appraisal, which the person had just recently bought the building, so they could either get us an appraisal that would increase the value above the taxes, or they had 2 quotes and there was some drywalling that put them over the limit. And so by taking the drywalling out, they were able to go below the limit. So again, just assuring the council that even though we have to have extra conversations, people are being treated consistently. But the good news for them was that they were able to get themselves under the threshold and be able to proceed with their project to spend about $50,000 on a commercial office to remodel it. So we then did approve that permit. I attended the school board meeting last week prior to the MCDC annual meeting, spoke on behalf of the city that we hoped that the school board would approve the sale of the 2 Bancroft and Webster buildings. I like a moment of like, am I saying the right name? So encourage them, let them know that we would be collaborative with them, that they had worked with us ahead of time, that we thought those would be good projects. I left to go to the MCDC meeting, and then I was informed by the developers at Acorn that the school board did approve that. And so that's good news for the community on our goals of cleaning up, kind of working with them. And then related to that, remember that we talked about planning and zoning and looking at some way of being more lenient with regard to setbacks. So we had our meeting. I think everybody was there. Obviously Lucas will be added to that now, but everybody, the 5 of them were there. Derek O'Neill volunteered just because I don't have time right now. They feel like instead of just having a blanket, like cut everything in half, they want to do an analysis on different neighborhoods and try to be able to do some sort of an overlay district where you might say like these blocks, this would be the good number. These blocks, this would be the good number. I said at this point, I can't do that, but we'd like to see something, you know, whatever path we get to, it's okay. Derek did offer to do that, and so he'll report back and hopefully we can continue that conversation. There were some comments on Facebook, surprisingly, about something other than garbage. And it was about the highway intersection 34 and 48 that someone had said, why is it like that? So I did reach out to the DOT. Obviously, weather is weather. People get a perception that because it's been warm and that we have nice days, that somehow they can come back. As most of you know, it has to be a consistent temperature, where at night it does not get below a certain temperature. So I did email the DOT. I got that response. I'll see if maybe there's probably like 30 comments going back and forth about it. So I made posts on there what the DOT said. So it was obviously a consistent warm weather. And then the other thing is that most contractors lay their employees off and they're not just going to bring them back to do a little bit of work. And so the likelihood of that coming back to being actively worked on is still April, even though we've had a weird winter. And we'll talk about the next, last thing, which is budget. I would like to propose that at the next 2 regular council meetings, I will try to keep everything to a minimum and that we focus on budget. And I would like to have 1 more. So I don't know if everybody's willing to meet the 3 Mondays in a row, which would be 17, 24, and 3. The reason for kind of condensing in those 3 meetings to start is we have the first deadline in the budget process is March 5th. We have to have a notification to the auditor's office with what will go in the, if you recall, there was a new mailer that goes out to every household. That was a state law. There's a number that we put in there that then says this is the max amount that we're considering for property taxes. So less about every individual line item that we're gonna go through, more that we would at least be able to say that that's the max levy that we would be looking at. I probably need about 2 more weeks to get a better handle. The department heads are kind of wrapping up their numbers to get to me. And like I said, there's just some things that I need to get a handle on to figure out how we're gonna sort of resolve things that we need to resolve. So is everybody agreeable to those 3 Mondays? And we'll try to keep.
17th, 24th, and the 3rd.
Okay.
Yep, I already got it in.
Sharon's gone the 24th. What'd you say, Adam?
17th, 24th, and 3rd I can do.
I'll be able to be at all of them, but two of them I'll be via Zoom, but I will be in attendance.
So again, I'll try to keep the regular agenda light.
How long will they be, you know, because I can do, if I can get, I'll be on the internet, but I'll be in the Caribbean.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. You can probably.
I'd take it off if I were.
Here, so, yeah.
Prevent us from sitting in the cold.
Yeah.
Again, it's gonna be a different process than you're used to, a lot more numbers than you're used to. So probably the first one will just be being able to try and help you understand. I find it's best that usually we also have some one-on-one meetings, just so that you can kind of like be together and be looking at actual lines and point to things. It's a lot easier sometimes. Maybe we'll try to put the spreadsheets up on there, but we'll have page numbers and at least be able to refer to things. But it's gonna be a lot more information than you're used to getting. A good thing, but there's just some things that we're gonna have to talk through and kind of figure out not only how we resolve some things this year, but then going forward, so.
Yeah, we need to make a few changes, but a couple things. Yeah.
So everybody plan on that. I will send you a calendar invite for the extra Monday.
I saw you have an email from, the gentleman at JEO with regard to the downtown assessment and the Iowa Economic Development Authority and the floodplain issue. I saw that email. So we've got JEO trying to help us get an IEDA work together to help us with the floodplain in our downtown area. So it looked like that was pretty proactive of, hey, state, help us with this.
Yeah.
They're looking for them to help us. So I think going through that process with the downtown assessment has been very, very positive. So, good.
That's all I have.
And you had a ton of meetings and this lady has put in 100 hours a week easily. So just wanted to point that out. All right. Thank you for everything you do and for putting up with a lot.
You're welcome. That's all good.
You handle it very gracefully. Number 21, my mayor's report and comments. Home-based Iowa is something that we got put in place clear back in 2018 when I worked for MCDC. And it is a portal site that is intended for trying to attract veterans to live in our communities. And so we had to become certified, each community in Montgomery County and the county itself. We had to basically provide incentives to try to attract people. And when I was at MCDC, we used to get anywhere from 5 to 20 resumes a week, just soliciting if there were opportunities here. And it's my understanding, I know MCDC redid their website, and I had Curtis White with the our veterans administrator here at Montgomery County reached out to me and said, is there a way we can capitalize on this? So we have scheduled a meeting immediately following our hazard mitigation meeting this Thursday. And we've invited all the elected officials from each of the communities, MCDC, the chamber, just to talk about this because this is a prime market to try to attract people to live here. Veterans can be 45 years old and retired with families. It's not war hero, older individuals always. And so it's a prime market to try to attract to live here. So just wanted you to be aware of that. As I sit on the legislative committee for the League of Cities board, you know, I get a number every single week. We meet for a little over an hour and we talk through all the bills that are coming up and all the bills that are coming up into committees. The one that I wanted to point out to you that is very positive, finally, is House File 28, and it has a companion, Senate File 45. This is to create a Iowa Land Redevelopment Trust Act. Land trusts are very, very wonderful tools to use for economic development and redevelopment of slum and blight areas. So I have expressed extreme interest in watching this bill go through. I do think that it's passed the House and I think it will move on to the Senate. So that would be a really good one for us. And then the possible Volunteer Iowa Day, I did indeed the Youth Council, because they received a Volunteer Iowa grant for a Youth Day of Service. They were invited to go to the Capitol this Wednesday with all of the Volunteer Iowa and AmeriCorps folks. And so I have two of my youth council that are going to join me and Cynthia Bankston And we've talked to the school. The parents just have to give permission to be excused, and it'll be a great day for them. I've already talked to Senator Shipley and Representative Moore. They're gonna give us some time. We're gonna get to go out on the floor. It's gonna be a great experience. They get to sit through some committee meetings. Not a lot of people get to do this stuff, and it's two young people, Owen Blystone and Ethan Strunk are looking to go. Yep, two great kids, excited about it. So I'm excited to do that. I sat through, or I was with the EMA. We did our public hearing for our budget for the EMA Commission, or Emergency Management Commission. That was all approved, was at the rural fire. I did do my State of the City address, and I appreciate the radio station did us a little interview following that, or right before it went live. I've submitted it to the paper. I feel like it's a good overview of what things we've accomplished this past year, and I think it's looking ahead at the things that we talked about wanting to do for this next year with the 4 pillars. So if you haven't listened to it or watched it, it is out on our YouTube channel, but also the radio podcast is at KCSI. If you go to their podcast on their website, there's one, scroll down to Red Oak City Council. That's our page with all of them. So you can always go back and watch those. So appreciate that very much. Thank you. Had a youth council meeting last night. They've narrowed in on what their class project's gonna be. Lisa got to meet them. We had a presentation on cyberbullying, which seems only fitting right now. And, you know, they have very strong points and embarrassments about the way some adults behave. So, you know, as the mayor, I have to address those young peoples when they make those statements. So anyway, with that, that's all I have. City council reports. Adam, you want to start?
I was at the rural fire department meeting.
Mhm.
That's about it.
All right, and
Planning and zoning.
planning and zoning. Oh, yeah, we had the planning and
Planning
zoning
and zoning, I was
training.
there too.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a very good one.
Very, yeah.
Yes, I forgot about that. That was a good one too.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, John.
Patrick.
Okay, Tim.
I had the MCDC regular meeting and we did our first strategic planning meeting as well. And then I was at the rural fire protection meeting as well.
Okay. Brian.
So I attended the planning and zoning with Adam and Sharon. I attended the last 2 county supervisors meetings. I also attended the chamber banquet. This last week. Oh, yeah. Mr. brought up.
Thanks to Audie Rainey and Blue Realty for putting that on. They sponsored it.
That was great. I got a full belly. Anyway.
Good time.
We heard you were out having fun too.
Yes.
Maybe
I also-
too much fun the way somebody might have described it. We'll go there.
So I normally don't comment on individual conversations that I have. But I did talk with a constituent about something that you mentioned about speeding on 8th Street. You know, we've had the conversation over and over. But I will say this, it's the only street in town that I'm aware of that goes the distance that it does, it doesn't have one speed limit sign on it. I would like to see, I mean, I know it's in the driver's license manual, but I would like to see a speed limit sign both directions somewhere on 8th Street.
I actually
But-
drove it yesterday.
Okay.
There's 2 right by the highway, like right when you.
No, I'm
leave.
talking about between
Yeah, I know,
Oak
I'm just,
and South Hill.
yeah, so there's 2 by the highway and 2 way down by whatever ends up on the end of town, the dog park. So, yes, you're right. Like I just did it to.
Just
See.
a speed limit sign.
Yeah, Chris and I
Does
talked
it
about it.
change though? Does it change to a different zone? at some
There's
point?
20 that says on
Right.
that end and 25
But
is
it
this
Right.
end.
doesn't say school zone.
No, it says
That's what-
20.
Well-
But it is safe routes to school.
Well,
We have to look at the code and see what it says and then we can put up the.
but here's my question.
We can edit it.
I know that there's a section past him and that's supposed to be going 20, correct?
Yes.
North
I
and
haven't
south.
read it yet.
Now, my question would be to that, and I know this is a totally different discussion here. Is that when school's in session that we should be going 20? Or 25 if school's not in session?
Oh, I don't know.
Is
We've
that a
got,
question or are you stating?
Yeah, I mean, that's what are we gonna? put
It could
something
be
that-
clarified.
Yes, that's.
You,
what
you
I'm
would
saying.
recommend that we
Yes,
clarify that.
Right,
Well, first we have to look at the code, which I haven't
Okay.
done.
Yes.
we have to see what it says, because if there's a lower area, we gotta see what the
Yeah.
north and south boundaries are for what we call.
Are you saying making an adjustable speed limit there?
So that it's 20 when school's in session and that's
That's pretty
25 when
hard
it's
to
not.
do.
Well,
Well, other school districts do it because they have a flashing.
Yeah, I
light.
get it, I get it.
Yeah, I
it's
don't.
super common to say while school's in
Yes.
session.
But a lot, what you're talking about is like when you're talking about on a highway or somewhere, it's like 45 and they want to slow you down to 25. We're talking about the difference between 20 and 25.
Right.
Okay.
There are cities, to Adam's point, that do that.
Yes.
It
So
just says right on the bottom, when.
Spirit Lake
school's in
does it.
session.
I got one more comment to make. This is maybe off the wall, but I would like to change this room around. So we sit here now with our backs to the door, we sit with our backs to the monitors. I don't know why we can't move our little situation, put it on that end, have the people sit here so we can see the monitors, so we know what's going on. It makes a lot more sense to me. That's not open to the public back there. People do go back there and they're very magnanimous about that, but I would like to see us switch this room around, to have the council up there and the citizens out here.
I do know that the fire station is looking also at trying to figure out through some of our lost money, like getting new carpet, painting some of it. So obviously we can flip this easily, but then we'll have to look at like permanently if they're making some adjustments that are pretty, not major
It
things.
just doesn't make sense for us to be sitting with our backs to the monitors.
Yeah.
Or our back to the door.
And this isn't like great right here.
It's not ideal. Yeah. Good.
I'm done.
All right, Sharon.
I also attended the planning zoning meeting and I thought it was very enlightening, you might say. I know that we attended one a few years back, but you always learn more than everyone, I think. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
And also the chamber annual meeting, so every year, I think that more people are joining the chamber, and I think it's great. There's so much going on in town, and what we need in this town are more volunteers. It seems like the same people volunteer all the time, so I just wish we could get more volunteers I know during Rag Ride, Tim and Janice and the whole group, they did a great job getting the volunteers, but we need that year round.
Year round.
Because we just don't have enough volunteers. But anyway, that's my story.
One of the things that some communities, they had like a pilot program statewide, and when I was in Cascade, Monticello was one of those, and so they were our neighbor. But they talked a lot about that. There's lots of people willing to volunteer, but there's such a small group of people that communicate with each other. Like, how do you create an inviting place and space for people to be able to sign up? So they talk about like basically doing like an online portal database, like listing everything that there is possible to volunteer for, where like the city, the chamber, somebody hosts that portal, and then you're able to sign up and say like, all the different groups could say like, these are the kinds of things that we need. And then sometimes people just don't know, or it's super intimidating when all of us know each other. And then some random new person comes in and goes, I'd like to volunteer and I don't know any of you. So kind of making it welcoming
You're
and
right.
easy to sign up.
You're right. People that are new in town, they don't know a lot about our town.
That goes back to a welcome. We need to
Yeah.
welcome
It's pretty tough,
initiative
pretty tough.
too.
Pretty tough.
But another thing is to utilize our leadership program with the chamber and find out from those folks what topics they're interested in. If we have board positions come up with, and then have them on that list that goes hand in hand with that type of database.
Well, they
I
talk a lot
plug-
about, you always, even when you ask people to volunteer, you go to the same people.
Yeah.
So that's how you sort of
But I think
precipitate.
that's a good idea. Put that on our website as a portal.
Yeah.
We do have it on the chamber site, but we don't get many people signing up for that, but
Yeah.
especially new people in town, I think they need more,
Yeah.
input.
Chances.
Sure.
Chances of what we can offer them.
Okay. Anything for upcoming agenda that we need to throw out there?
I have no idea.
No, okay. It'll change
We're
between now
trying
and
to keep
then.
it low. because of the budget, so.
I don't know what we want to do, depending on what your conversation is on Thursday, I suppose. Okay, all right, so with all items being finished, we are adjourned.
So Lisa, I would like
8:02.
to have